now that it's some hot water, so it's more like summer's a rough, it's like you want it to be really just like the perfect weather to go swimming and stuff, but then it's also
What was I going to talk about?
in the tide.
What was I going to talk about?
No,
Brown, and it
it'll
doesn't.
come back.
After-
Okay, I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, I was having some issues, but we are good now. It's 6:07 and we are live.
Thank you very much. Ooh. Good evening, everyone. That's sort of coming in and out. And welcome to the regular City Commission meeting of Tuesday, June 18th, 2024. Can we have the roll call, please?
Mayor Betty Rush,
Here.
Vice Mayor Sarah Maliga,
Present.
Commissioner Christopher McBoy,
Here.
Commissioner Mimi May,
Here.
Commissioner Reynaldo Diaz.
Here.
Thank you. The invocation will be led by Vice Mayor Sarah Malega.
Thank you. Today I would like to read a prayer by Father Michael Judge, who was a fire department chaplain for the city of New York, and unfortunately he lost his life in September 11th. Michael's prayer: Lord, take me where you want me to go. Let me meet who you want me to meet, and tell me what you want me to say, and keep me out of your way. Amen.
And Christopher McBoy will lead the pledge.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The agenda, do we have any additions, deletions, or reorderings?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I have a request for a closed-door attorney-client session that will be discussed by City Attorney Tercivia under his report.
Okay, do we have any deletions?
We do.
We do not.
Yes, we do.
I
Well,
don't
we
have-
do. I'll do it then.
Yeah, we do.
Deleting consent agenda number F. Removing F from the consent agenda.
Motion to approve as amended?
Second.
Do I have, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, presentations. Do we have presentation? There are no, we have proclamations today. There are only two.
But they are both important.
They're both important. The first one is, whereas in the United States, more than 1 million people are living with HIV, and every 15 minutes, a new HIV transmission occurs, resulting in more than 30,000 annual new HIV diagnoses. And whereas in Florida, more than 120,502 people are living with HIV, and an estimated 10 new transmissions occur daily. And in Palm Beach County, more than 8,400 people, or 1 in 180 residents, are living with HIV. 1 in 7 persons with HIV don't know they have it. And whereas the NHTD theme for 2024 is Level Up Your Self-Love, Check Your Status. The quality of life for those who are affected, these considerable advancements can only help individuals if they know their HIV status and are linked into life-saving medical care. And whereas each year on June 27th, we observe National HIV Testing Day to raise awareness about the importance of HIV testing and early diagnosis of HIV. And whereas ending the HIV epidemic in the U.S. is a bold plan announced in 2019 that aims to end the HIV epidemic in the United States by 2030. Agencies across the United States Department of Health and Human Services developed an operational plan to pursue that goal, accompanied by a request for additional annual funding. The initiative seeks to reduce the number of new HIV infections in the United States by 75% by 2025, and then by at least 90% by 2030, for an estimated 250,000 total HIV infections averted. Now, therefore, I, Betty Resch, Mayor of the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, by virtue of the authority vested in me and on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby proclaim June 27th, 2024 as National HIV Testing Day and urge all citizens, residents of the City of Lake Worth Beach to take an HIV test to know your status and participate in other activities and observances designed to increase awareness and understanding and promote prevention initiatives to end the HIV epidemic. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, to be affixed this 18th day of June 2024. I lost so many people to HIV. I worked in the theater in New York City, and they died, they disappeared, and it's still going on, and it's tragic because it can be avoided. It can, now thank God there's Victovi, there's some treatment, but let's work on this. And well, and fortunately, in our own city of Lake Worth Beach, we have the two folks that are going to come up for a picture in just a second, our Compass HIV awareness program. And thank you so much for doing that. So let's go down and get a picture.
Okay.
Sabas is our outreach intervention specialist. Sabas. Like Sebastian.
Yes, I'm coming. I think Tiana will take a picture for you. Yes, come on over.
We have two cameras.
Thank you.
Best day I ever had. I love that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's fine. Absolutely.
It's on. Good evening, Commission, Mayor. Thank you all so much for acknowledging June 27th as National HIV Testing Day, as well as the work that we do over at Compass. So on June 27th, we'll be doing free HIV testing at Compass and at Walgreens at 3200 South Federal in Delray, as a way to help spread the awareness about HIV testing, linkage care, all of that. We're also going to be doing an Mpox vaccine clinic that same day to get folks vaccinated for Mpox at Compass between noon and 3 p.m.
Mpox?
Yes, so Mpox, formerly known as monkeypox, is a new rash that is out there, and it's 2 shots within 28 days to prevent it.
Ooh,
It's
okay.
spread like contact to contact, so not necessarily sexual. And I'm
But
sure those
could
words
be.
have never been said on
Could
this
be.
mic.
I mean, it is Lake Worth.
They said it's like we're
That's fair, that's fair.
Thank you very
Thank you all
much.
so much for everything.
Thank you. Now, our next one is the City of Lake Worth Beach proclamation regarding Juneteenth, and I don't know who's here to get that. Whereas Juneteenth, also known as Freedom Day, Jubilee Day, Liberation Day, and Emancipation Day, is a holiday celebrating the emancipation of those who had been enslaved in the United States. And whereas on June 19, 1865, General Gordon Granger announced that slaves in Texas were free by the order of the President of the United States. The announcement came 2.5 years after President Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, which had become effective officially on January 1st, 1863, 2 years before. And whereas freedmen in Texas organized the first of what became the annual celebration of Jubilee Day on June 19th. And whereas June 19th has a special meaning to African Americans, and it is called Juneteenth, combining the words June and 19th, and has been celebrated by the African American community for over 150 years. Whereas the City of Lake Worth Beach encourages everyone to observe Juneteenth as an opportunity to reflect, rejoice, and plan for a brighter future, and as we continue to address racial injustices in our society today. Now, therefore, I, Betty Resch, Mayor of the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, by virtue of the authority vested in me, and on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby proclaim June 19th, 2024 as Juneteenth in the City of Lake Worth Beach, and urge everyone to become more aware of the significance of this celebration in African American history and in the heritage of the city. In witness, I have set my hand, and the clerk has sealed it. Does anybody want to get it? Does anybody, I mean, I hate to be, come on.
I had a tan one on, I'm like, that's boring. Well, on like breast cancer awareness day, we'll all wear pink. Or bullying day, anti-bullying day is pink too.
Madam Mayor,
Yes?
I just want to make sure, it was consent E that's removed?
No.
Not consent F?
F.
F.
The millage?
The settlement agreement in case number 5024, 1688,
That's E.
Lakeport. F, it's
On
F.
ours, it's F.
Wow, that's weird. Okay, I just want to, all right. I just want to make sure I'm removing the right thing. Thank you, I got it.
The agendas that were handed out to us have,
The one that handed out,
is F.
it's still F.
Yeah. Oh, well.
In
Well,
any
we
case,
fixed it.
I think we have it clear.
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, of course, you're quite well. And here, thank you, Tiana, for getting us these Juneteenth flags. Leisure Services. Thank you.
I told her every time she brings toys, I'm happy.
You teachers. So, commission liaison reports and comments. Who wants to start? Who's burning to say something?
I can start on this one, I guess.
Okay.
So, of course, when I lose my voice. So last week, I think it was, no, the week before. Thank you, Vice Mayor Malega, for setting up a tour with Representative Mike Caruso and his assistant. So I was able to take them around with Gary Baker, water plant manager, and Ed Liberty, electric utility director. And we took them around to the site of our sewage spill, to some major electric infrastructure things, basically to show him the work that we have been investing in the community outside of Lake Worth Beach, but are still our customers. And we also wanted to kind of just share with him, the things that we're working on and the things that we could use help on. And so we showed him quite a bit of our infrastructure and then a little bit of our downtown. And I guess the thing to bring up now that we have a meeting and have a chance, and I don't know if we need necessarily consensus for this, but out of that tour, I feel he's definitely willing to go to bat for us in Tallahassee, and there's going to be a number of sheets to fill out, which is great. Things that he was really interested in was, for example, the prospect of the I-95 pedestrian crossing bridge. He's really interested in our offshore Gulf Stream current generation project. And of course, there's loads of infrastructure things. A couple of our monitoring wells for water I want to ask for money for. Definitely some electric things as well. And then kind of cultural and downtown wise, I was able to take him into our playhouse. And we've had talks about our playhouse before, that this is the 100-year anniversary, which is really amazing. And fortunately for us, his daughter, when she was a girl, performed in our playhouse. So that tugged at his heartstrings. And I think he's really interested in wanting to help us get some money to improve that playhouse, especially things like the bathroom and the seats that want to be updated. There's a number of things. So it's pretty exciting because, he is a senior legislator this time, and which means his batting average is going to be a lot better. And he's all about it. So I want to keep that conversation going, and eventually, and hopefully soon, that would be a good summer project to fill out those legislative sheets and get them turned in well before session.
That's great. Thank you. Anything else?
I think that's it. I'm sure I'm missing out. I want to, this is probably something that we can, spread the workload on. Like, one thing I would love to turn in a sheet for the mausoleum for our cemetery. I think we should just go for it. I mean, if you seen recently, the governor's veto list isn't great for cultural projects, but it would behoove us to try anyways, and I think we just throw everything at the wall, and then some of it is we're gonna get some of it, so.
He wasn't great on water projects either. He vetoed every one.
Yeah, I'll save my judgment on that, but Caruso, on the other hand, is very good on water.
Yep.
He lobbies for us for Lake Worth Lagoon Initiative and lagoon projects, so he understands that, and he really does have an appreciation for what we need to do infrastructure-wise, and he was really into the water plant and the product of clean water that we provide to people, and I think we explained to him some of the needs for some of our wells that need some love and some maintenance, and they're expensive, and I think we have a good chance. So.
I had a brief chat with him a few weeks ago, and I said, we didn't get anything this year. And he said, next year I'm in a different position. He likes our city. He really does. He has a soft spot for Lake Worth, and I think we're going to have some better results next year. Thank you. Let's keep going. Number 3.
Okay.
Number 3.
Number 3, all righty. Okay, so since the last time we met, I attended the Florida League of Cities Institute for Elected Municipal Officials. And I just got my little certificate. I actually learned quite a bit that weekend. So, and the opportunity to, learn about home rule, learn about keeping local voices local decisions local. We played a really fun budget game where you think you're going to balance the budget, and all of a sudden all these emergencies come at you. And I was like, wait, we did this in real life, when we were working with the force main break. But that was kind of fun. And, but it was really good just to kind of learn about other cities. And, with Sunshine Law, I can't talk to these guys, but I can talk to elected officials in other cities. So that was, making those connections, making those relationships, as the mayor always says, that's the most important thing. I attended the Tropical Ridge Neighborhood Association meeting, the College Park Neighborhood Association meeting, and the Parrot Cove Neighborhood Association meeting. And, because I want to know what's happening with the residents through the neighborhood associations, I think is one real excellent way that we can have that conduit of information passed back and forth. We toured the Head Start, the building that the Head Start rents, and they have an excellent program, and their kids were adorable. It was really fun. I met with an Eagle Scout who is working on his badge. He needed to find out about elected officials and how did I run, and he wanted to know other outlets in the city where he could do volunteer work. So we talked about that. I went to the Homeless and Housing Alliance meeting on Monday. And toward the county traffic division. So been kind of busy, and it's been great, because a lot of this, it's 70 days since I was sworn in. So it's, as I said last night, it's a lot of learning and and we met with Leisure Services this morning as my role as the NAPC liaison. 4th of July is set. It's going to be awesome. All of the parties leading up to the 4th of July are set. Check it out on the NAPC website, or on the NAPC Facebook page, or just ask me, and I can tell you where the party is going to be at for the whole week before the 4th of July. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 2.
Mine are sort of under the H theme. I didn't organize it that way, but they fell out that way. You have to stretch a little bit. First, thank you to my colleagues for allowing me to extend my time with 2 different sets of family in California. It was very real positive thing. I did work while I was there. We have discussed with the Playhouse that we might like to do something about the lighting of the bingo, that thing. I have pictures for you of really cool theaters and cool neon lighting from 2 different cities out there as inspiration. It is cool. Some of them did need a little maintenance, but, so that's that one. Also was able to attend the Homeless and Housing Alliance, I guess a week ago, Monday?
No, it was this Monday, it was
Or
Friday.
Friday.
It was
Yeah,
Friday.
okay, so I'm not totally confused. And I think we have some opportunities to help out. And again, I repeat my gratefulness to Vice Mayor Malega of thinking that there might be some room that we might be able to help out as a city on that one. And I think that would be beneficial. I think there's some angles that may come up for that. I also was able to join the invitation to visit the Head Start program at Wingfield Street. Wingfield, is it street? Seems like it's Boulevard or something. Anyhow, Wingfield. It's a really excellent preschool or early childhood education program. Learned a number of things that I had seen it before, but was happy to see it again. The level of support for the kids, not only the teachers, the retraining and ongoing training for teachers, but also mental health support for to help teachers with specific students. So that was great to see. I was a little bit concerned that in one of our recent meetings, we kind of took to task the representative of the Lutheran Family Services that has run that program at Head Start at Wingfield for about a decade, or maybe a little bit more. My concern is that some of our discussion, or a fair amount of the discussion from the dais came on things that we really should have known were not things that we have any influence over. For instance, there was a lot of discussion of need for a kitchen and shared commission for the community. That simply is not allowed under federal regulations. You can't do that. Fortunately, our city manager is working on an arrangement that there's separate kitchen arrangements for the 2 needs, but you can't mix them. And the other one, that there was a lot of discussion of where are the kids from that are in this program. And that should have really not been a discussion at all, because it's a federal program. Federal programs cannot pick and choose where people come from. The program is at the level of the county. Most of the kids are going to be fairly local, either from the city or nearby. But a federal program can't say, I'm sorry, we're in a city building, we can't let you in if you're not from the city. We should have known that going into that discussion. Keep the H's going. We are very lucky to have here the Lake Worth Lagoon. We're even luckier that we have hermit crabs in the Lake Worth Lagoon. I continue to run an aquarium with a different early childhood program, one of the Escuelita Mayas. Today I got video of, there's a housing crisis in the hermit crab world, it turns out too. And I put some new shells in and they got a lot of attention. One hermit crab got out of the one, got into the other. I got that on video. And then the other guy said, oh, no, not so fast, and came and chased him out. And they've gone back and forth a couple times today. The more serious part of it is, again, I asked my colleagues for help. I went to get new water for it. You got to climb over the railing at 18th Avenue. If we could get some sort of safer access that people can get their boats down. We did have people stop by when Krim and I were there, showed up on a golf cart, and they come and look, but they should be able to get down to the water and take a paddleboard out or a kayak or canoe or whatever, or just simply get down in the water. It's cool. There's cool stuff in it. And then finally, on the last H, and then I'm done, from a quote from a high school student in Oregon: all everybody wants is peace. Quote, stop killing children is not a controversial statement. And that's all I got.
Thank you. Division 1? Division? I'm making stuff up
That's like-
today.
Isn't that what the people who are playing the hockey thing are going for? Like the
District
Stanley-
1.
It's hockey.
Forgive
Sticking
me.
with the H theme. Thank you. So I just want to preface it and say, it was my best intention to have Representative Caruso come and tour the city and get him thinking about legislative dollars in the future. am carrying those appropriations. And I reached out to Commissioner Diaz, as he said, and asked him to join in. But what we didn't realize was, number one, we couldn't be both in the same car because we're going to have to vote on stuff. So I bowed out and let all the sciencey people go together. I let it be a boys' club. So I want to say thank you. It turned out to be not just a 2-hour, but like a 5.5-hour day for them. And that night, Representative Caruso, I had sent him a message saying thank you. He sent me back a response that said, "I was so impressed by Ed and Gary. They are truly professionals at the top of their fields. They have taken Lake Worth Beach to a whole new level. Thank you for putting this together."
That's great.
So I just want to say thank you to Representative Caruso. Walter was there, who's his legislative aide, and they again, thank you, Commissioner Diaz. I think that when we work together up here, and the electeds who are higher than us see us working together, I think that our chances of success when it comes to bringing money home from Tallahassee is going to be a lot better. So with that, I say thank you. I also toured Head Start. I went after most of you were there. I was trying to wait out the rain, and again, didn't want to violate sunshine because we have something that we're going to be voting on. And one thing that I did have a conversation about is, number one, I would like a cot there with my name on it. Those cots are so cool. Did you see the cots for kids? They're stacked up cots with the kids' names on them for them to take a nap. And I was there right at nap time. And I was like, well, where's my cot? I'm like, I could do a 2-hour nap. But I did have a real hard conversation with the people who were there, who were obviously not just from that location, about more community involvement. And the reason I brought this up is because I've been working in Osborne community in the neighborhood for 10 plus years. And I've never seen Lutheran Services, Head Start, their staff, their families, their kids at any of our cleanups, any of our tree plantings, when we did Howard Park. So I said, if I understand you may not be able to just serve Lake Worth Beach kids, but you can be part of the community. And that was a real hard conversation that we had about them being more involved in teaching their kids to be proud of the area that they're being schooled in, right? And that you're not just going to get in your car and go home to another community. If you're in Lake Worth Beach, we want you to be part of the community. And it went really well. It was greatly received. They said, please let us know when there's another cleanup, another event. We'd love to get staff more involved. So that went well. I did a 5K for Night Runners kickoff for Pride Month up in West Palm Beach. Thank you. It was raining, and I was like, please let it rain all night. And then the rain stopped, and I'm like, I don't have an out. So it looks like I'm going to do a 5K. But it was great. Mayor Keith was there. He welcomed all the runners.
Did he do the 5K?
He welcomed everyone.
welcomed.
Very specific. He was, yes, he was like, thank you for being here, run. So that was a great turnout. I was proud to represent Lake Worth Beach. I wore our Everyone is Welcome in Lake Worth Beach rainbow shirt, and made sure that I made a statement. Couple things that are coming up. CRA meeting has been moved to the 27th at the Hatch Building at 6 o'clock. It will not be here.
Why at the Hatch?
There's another meeting here that night. I can't remember what it is. There's another function here. Stonewall Ball is June 29th at the Hilton. If you haven't gotten your tickets, please go into Compass's website. It is another fundraiser to help Compass do all the great things that they do in our community. It's always a blast. I do believe that Miss Carla has come, I believe. I know Carmel from Healthy Lake Worth Beach will be there this year. I think Miss Reggie's coming. So thank you, Commissioner May. She stepped up this year and did the donation as the sponsorship. And so the mayor, myself, Commissioner May, and my spouse will be going and attending and representing Lake Worth Beach. And our great mayor is being honored with the Compass Community Leadership Award that night. So we'll be there to celebrate her and watch her receive her award. So that is the 29th. We all attended the three of us attended the ribbon cutting at the food bank, so that I think Commissioner McVoy was out of town, so it was the mayor, Mimi, and I. We all went to the Palm Beach County Food Bank, had their new ribbon cutting.
A bread
Cutting, I'm sorry, bread breaking cutting thing. Every elected who could be there was there. I'm proud that it's housed in our city, on Lake Worth Beach. It's at the industrial park. And the kitchen there is magnificent. Tiana got very excited when we got into the kitchen area. So if you haven't been, if you want to volunteer, again, Palm Beach County, the food bank is a great place to give back. They're right here in the city, another great partner. I did send a thank you card to Representative Caruso and signed the mayor's name and our name on it, said thank you to him. And I toured the traffic division with Mimi yesterday, and we got to see how they kind of control the lights when they need to, but really more pay attention to the traffic flow. And it was very informational. I did share the pass out with Commissioner Diaz to share with you as well. It talks about how many bridges there are and how many are We have one swing bridge in the entire county, and it's in South Bay. And we have 8 bridges that open, and it was very informational.
Maybe I
So,
could get a copy of that.
yeah, he has my only one, so, yes. But those are the fun things about being an elected, when you get invited to go tour, and then you can answer questions like, why do you keep putting palm trees in the medians? Why aren't they shade trees?
Right.
And then you get the answer, well, shade trees grow deep roots, and they grow out, and then they destroy the concrete.
Nonsense.
Whereas, well, that is the answer we got.
know.
Official answer from the people at the traffic division. But it was very informational, and I was glad to go.
Thank you. Bubba?
Yes, you can.
Sorry, I just wanted to add one thing that I forgot because it was real, I don't know. I went down to the W. Moda Museum and it was I mean, I know that you guys, have you all gone already? Okay, and I had not gone, so it was fabulous and we are so lucky if they come here because it was just phenomenal. And they said that the portion that we saw was just a little fraction of the collection, so a smidgen. And the professionalism and the knowledge of Louise,
Louise is
who's
amazing.
she's the docent, I guess, and she was just fabulous.
Director.
But she was the docent that day because she took us on a tour.
All right.
So anyway, it was fabulous, and I did go.
A docent is like a volunteer guide. A director is the. That's paid, big thing, yeah.
Whatever. She took us around. It was great.
It's an amazing place.
not into art.
And I am. I wanted to be the curator of the Met. Are you, everybody's done? Okay, no, my turn. Okay. I won't go, I was at the food bank, I was at the Head Start, I was at the, lots of things that we taught, the housing thing. So I was a lot of that. We had a nice pre-agenda meeting, and I would like to suggest that maybe we start doing them twice a month because it was productive. It was really, it was good. We got to talk about a lot of things. And one of the things that we talked about and was doing some changes in the order of the agenda. Are you going to talk about that, Mr. Manager, or should I?
Oh, yeah, I was going to mention it.
Okay, then I won't. We have a problem on the Intracoastal with racing boats. Every weekend, it's just horrible. And my understanding is that they had been in Riviera Beach for a long time. I mentioned this to Mr. Perry the other day, and somehow Riviera got rid of them, and we need to get rid of them. It's a nightmare. Racing boats. They don't have their mufflers on. There's a group that every weekend, that's what they do. They load up and they come down, and I've been to the houses that have been asking me for help, and it's like having a lawnmower in your front yard. So I'd like to do some action on that. Well, if we can have consensus I would love some consensus to try to address this and work with either it's PBSO and whoever it is well, that's the thing. And here's the thing, okay, our Intracoastal is not a no-wake zone, okay? So every time those boats go fast, they're eating away at our shores, okay? I would like to see if we can even go so far as to have our section of the Intracoastal declared a no-wake zone. Would I have support from the water guy?
Yeah, for sure. I think we should go after it. I can tell you it's not quite moving mountains, but it's.
I know, that's why I'm bringing it up,
yes,
yeah.
And we have allies in the Lagoon Initiative, and that would be. I'm trying to think who has total. There isn't any one entity that has total jurisdiction, but
Right.
they do enforcement, but it's not totally them. I think we have an opportunity I've brought up as well, getting our PBSO to have a Marine unit more of a presence here.
Absolutely.
That should be a conversation for contract negotiation.
Absolutely, yeah.
But there's a multifaceted thing that needs to happen, but totally.
It's a nightmare for those folks.
Yeah.
And aren't the oyster catchers endangered, and can't we use that as like one of the things that we have to protect the shoreline
But
because of them?
boaters
Very
have,
wide.
Florida is very friendly to boaters in their ability to use our water, so. But I think there's a balance to be able to found, yeah.
And even short of that, to have
Yeah.
some enforcement done. There's a statute that says you're supposed to have a muffler on your boat, and these guys do not have those mufflers on their boats. So that would be something I would think, I'm looking at Captain, that would be something that we we could actually have enforced. I mean, that is short, at least it would be less noisy. So I'd like consensus to work on that. There has been, and I think it's in advance of, I'll take it. I think it's in advance of the hurricane season, there has been a real outbreak of tree hat racking. I drive by Dunkin' Donuts, and I spoke with the city manager about this. I think we need to have more, I think people don't think that we take it seriously. The feedback that I get, folks don't know that we actually do find these people. So I would like to make it more public, have a publicity thing about don't hat rack your trees, you're going to get fined. It's terrible. And once it's done, it's done. I also would like to find out the enforcement. I think, I don't know what exactly the fines are, and maybe Mr. Waters at some point, or somebody can help us, but let's increase them. Let's make it serious. Let's let people know that we take this stuff seriously, because really the impression out there is they've cut down another tree and nobody cares. So I'd like to have a little more push on that.
What if we also made them plant 2 trees for every tree they hat rack?
Well, that's what I'm talking about. Let's try to do something else. I want to publicly shame them. And the same thing with, what was the other thing? Now you all got me off. Hat racking trees, and that may have been it. I don't remember. Okay, so they come, they go. Also, if you notice down here lined up at the front of the thing there, those are some of the, I think, 14 framed postcard enlargements that I bought from our own Mary Lindsay at our little bookstore. And here's my proposal. There's a lot of pictures of old dead guys. There's pictures of commissions, there's no names on them. Here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to paint I'm looking for consensus. I'd like to paint the chambers. I would like to have all that stuff. We could find someplace else to hang those things. Or not. And instead put up the history of Lake Worth. So it's not just the people, it's who we were, and just to remind us. So I would like consensus from my.
Consensus.
Okay, Mr. McVoy?
I'm kind of used to them,
Well, that's why we're going to change it.
but
You can take them home.
You can have that.
There's like 47 pictures of you. You can have them all.
Bathroom. And listen,
Sorry, can you speak into your mic? Thank you.
and I mean, I'm giving up, I would, be giving up my own honored position as, the last mayor to have her picture up on the wall, and maybe have a picture of the commission with our names under it in the hallway so people know. But I would like to take all these down, spackle paint, new color, nothing fancy, nothing expensive.
did you say glitter paint?
I like a little glitter. A mirrored ball, and then hang those up instead. And can I have consensus from the commission to do that?
If you agree to paint it blue.
Some shade of blue.
Okay.
Some shade of blue.
Do we,
No, I'll
do we
let
get to
people-
look at the shade of blue?
No, I get to pick it.
Okay, if you're doing that, can you do something about I'm just gonna go with this, because I'm gonna take it now to the next level. Those are nasty,
What?
the cushion things, and so
We
is
should
the
have them
rugs.
cleaned.
The
We should
carpet.
have it
The
all cleaned.
No, it just needs to go away and be modernized.
No, it
and
doesn't. They're-
Disinfected. People,
They
I've
actually
seen
were
kids with
cleaned.
pee-pee pants sit in those.
Okay, and they were clean, and they could be clean. I'm talking
Just
about,
saying.
that becomes now an expenditure. Okay? They work fine, they've been here, it's a rug, it's a
Can we get rid
brown.
of the carpet?
Why?
Because it's awful.
What's awful?
It holds
It's
dirt,
brown.
It holds.
Are you eating off
bacteria.
it?
I'm staying neutral in this one.
Really?
Can't we just make it match all the rest of the flooring in the entire city
No,
hall?
because then it's going to be noisy. One of the things that this does is take noise down.
So dirty.
I swear, Mr. Brown, can we clean this rug?
We do clean them regularly.
Right.
And I guess going on since you're having this conversation, we've talked about a couple of things we would do in this room. It's just a matter of you guys discussing the scope, like how far do we want to go with this? Because in the past, we've talked about the 70s wood paneling on the dais, and there are a lot of things we can do to kind of modernize this room and things we can do. So it's just a matter of what do we want to do right now?
And all I'm asking right now, which wouldn't affect any of the other stuff, would be to do the painting, get these things down, and get those pictures up.
So based on what you just mentioned, basically what we would do we would remove all of the photos. We would remove the wood railings that are holding the photos. Obviously, when those come down, we have to re-spackle the walls and everything, so paint everything. To make everything kind of look consistent, we would put one of these columns on the other side of the American flag there and flare it out at the top, so at least it's symmetrical up
Right.
there.
Makes me
And that's
crazy.
pretty much it, and then just making sure that we select whatever colors that you. The wine cooler will remain there. And making sure we just select whatever colors.
Right,
that,
I'll work with
come
Jamie
up
and
with.
Mr. Waters.
But as of right now, that would be it.
That's
So we
all I'm
wouldn't look
asking
at doing
for.
anything with the pews, with the carpet, with the dais, nothing else?
Yep.
Okay.
That's really all I'm looking for. So do we have consensus to do that? Well, Bill?
It does get
It
cleaned.
does get cleaned.
It may not get cleaned as much as you'd like, but it does.
So I
get
have
regular
consensus,
cleaning.
all right. let's-
Yes, I
let's
agree
not
that
delete it.
I agree we should start there.
Thank you. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
All right.
And if I might add, unrelated to the room, thank you for your support on trees and hat racking and management of trees. I think we might, I totally agree with you, Madam Mayor, that the impression in the community is that we do not take it seriously. I think there have also been cases where people come in with a quite high fine and then, and somebody who knows more should correct me, but I believe in some cases they've been dropped at the special magistrate one
No, those
or
are not special
lowered or
magistrate,
something. I think, and there's been talk, there's also been mention of, well, why not tag the tree, red tag the tree? We red tag buildings when people don't manage them properly. I'm told that there may be a legal issue. I would say let's look into that and find out, because I think people need to know when you see a hat rack tree, hey, that the
That's
city
been
is
noticed.
paying attention.
That's an
Some
interesting
sort of
idea.
scheme. The other one that I think we might want to consider to help with that is some way of managing folks that do the trimming in the city, that they know that they have to do a little course, or they have to get a certificate, or they have to do something so that, everybody knows, hey, these are things you can do, these are things you can't do. I think
Well,
we
when a-
could amp it up.
Yeah, when a corporation like Dunkin' Donuts hires like Bob with his chainsaw.
For
It's
the
ridiculous.
Chainsaw Massacre,
Yeah.
that's not very
Mr.
helpful.
Diaz, and we usually don't discuss, I have one more thing to bring up, but quickly.
Okay, thank you. And to bring it back to the room thing, definitely I agree to the painting and whatnot, but I also really appreciate Vice Mayor Malega and City Manager Brown for bringing up this conversation continuing, because I'm not saying we should commit to this just yet, but I would love to have a conversation at some point sooner than later, especially if we're going through budget. I've gotten complaints about
Videos.
our video, our microphones. I perpetually look at
Definitely.
our lack of cable management for our IT there. And if we're going to dress up the walls and paint them and stuff, I think if we can have those conversations to see, what other little things can we do to just kind of
The
improve it.
video feed
Let's
and
keep it
is
going.
definitely a
The
problem.
video is a big one.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got one more, which is really just about, we've talked before, we haven't really come to a thing. People say, let's do a cleanup of this neighborhood, let's do a cleanup of that neighborhood. And yet and I'm like, why am I in this neighborhood? Why am I, who don't live here, cleaning up this neighborhood? I mean, I like to help, but I think that we should probably, and I think we've talked about this, have some sort of, some creative minds, please come forward, have some sort of public campaign. In New York City in the 1960s, it was give a hoot, don't pollute. And all of a sudden, people stopped throwing trash out of their cars. I would like, and I talked to, Tiana, about going into the schools. We've done things that, let's really make this a priority, and not just with our own staff, but with the schools, from the children up. This is your neighborhood. If you see a beer bottle, pick it up. Don't drop the beer bottle in the first place. So I'd like to see if we can, and maybe this is a thing that we can have, input from the citizens. This doesn't have to be staff intensive. If you have an idea, email me, I'll share it. We just have to figure this out, because after the weekend, like now in my neighborhood, which is changing a little bit, there's like 4 beer bottles on my front lawn. I'm like, I didn't put them there. So I would like just clever minds think of a campaign, think of what do they call them? A slogan. That's good. Can't be green if it's not clean. That's good. Yeah, a slogan, a mascot, that sort of thing. So I would like some creative minds to get in touch with me, and we'd talk about that. And that's it. Mr. Manager.
Good evening.
Good evening.
And also, I guess going back to the upgrades and renovations to the chamber, we'll bring forward some other things that we've been bouncing around. I know, especially these days with just the world we're currently living in, you have to think of things that we didn't do in the past. I know a lot of people have gone to, I guess they're calling it like kind of a ballistic diets, where you have like the blankets that kind of sandwich in between things. I mean, it's just, you have to think safety a lot more these days. We are going to be doing some changes just here in City Hall, just to kind of ramp up our safety a little bit due to some of the recent events. Also on the hat rack and tree issue, luckily we have our horticulturalist here in the crowd. So what I can do is I can get with Dave. Obviously, we're currently dealing with fee schedule and stuff like that when we talk about fines and cost of fines and stuff
Right.
like that. So that'll be coming back as part of Budget Workshop 2, which will be July 29th. It's Monday, the 29th at 5 o'clock.
July.
July 29th, it's a Monday. So I can get with you, Dave, and William. We can discuss some of the current fines and costs for that and everything. So, but Mr. McGrew is the one who goes out and when these things happen in the city.
So all we need to do is give you an address and you can go out and make them sad that they did it? I want them to be sad that they did it. I mean, it really has to be because especially now with the heat and you're walking down the street and all of a sudden
Yeah.
there's a tree and then there's no tree and you're like, good Lord, the difference. So that's the end of commission comments.
What's that? Oh.
Yeah, okay, right. Okay, you want to say
I
something?
just wanted to ask about, just quickly with the July 20, this isn't on, just quickly with July, I'm sorry, I just realized, July 29th. And correct me if I'm wrong, is that not considered a meeting that's open to the public, that's at night? So we were going to make those at 6, or are we okay with it at 5? I don't care, I just want to be consistent.
I had the same question.
We can set that for 6 o'clock. Since it was just a budget workshop, we had it set for 5 o'clock.
Right, I mean, I
All
don't,
the
I'm
other-
open, I just want to be consistent so people know. Is it a 5, is it a 6? I don't know.
We can do 6 o'clock if you guys want. For special meetings, for workshops, or everything else, we were
Will we
going to
have
do
enough-
6 o'clock.
Will
but
we have enough time?
It's going to be close. That's why we were kind of leaning for 5. But
Then
again,
let's
if,
keep it at 5.
I would think 5, really,
Okay.
because then, I mean, if people want to hear what's going on, they can come at 6 and then review what happened between 5 and 6.
Okay, and that kind of goes back also to the, where you were talking about having the departments come and give us a rundown of, like, for example, the hat racking the trees, what happens? You know, so that we can talk to the constituents,
Yeah.
whether it be any of the departments. Because someone came to my house and knocked on my door with a long letter all about the trees, and I had talked to her the night before. So, I mean, they're angry.
Yeah.
And so we need to address this.
okay. Also on the chamber video, I've already started that process. I had a conversation today about some of the upgrades and as far as the quality of video. So that's already in the process. This Thursday at 6 o'clock, we have the Memorial Harold Grimes Field, which was our CDBG project for this year, Community Development Block Grant. That ribbon cutting is at 6 p.m. this Thursday. It was supposed to be last Thursday, but obviously the rain kind of postponed that for a week. We do have County Commissioner Weiss will be in attendance, and he's going to speak
great.
as well. So he was able to do that again. Just so everyone is aware, the city is officially closed tomorrow for Juneteenth, even though some of us will be here working. And obviously, we do, even though our solid waste and recycling crews do 410s, we do have people that work every Wednesday, so that still works tomorrow, so we will see staff still around. Staff did have our the H word season kickoff last Thursday. That's something we do annually, just to make sure everyone's up to speed on the latest FEMA requirements, the proper forms we have to fill out should something go into effect. We have a state of emergency, and we'll be having a conversation with each one of you as well, just so everyone's kind of up to speed on what that process is when and if something comes this way. And we also have multiple emergency management contracts for debris hauling, monitoring, all that other stuff. So it was just more of a thing to make sure everything is in the right place, we have the right contracts, everyone's geared up, and we're ready to go should something happen, and we're not scrambling last minute. Also, the Public Works Assistant Director, he started yesterday. So I do have an Assistant Director in Public Works, finally.
Oh, okay, great. Congratulations. Hope it works out.
I enticed him away from the city of Boca Raton.
Ooh,
So-
fancy.
So I was taking him around today. You guys will meet him soon, but I'm very excited that he's on board now. As far as the agenda you had mentioned and what came out of our pre-agenda work session last Friday. On the July 16th meeting, we did cancel the July 2nd meeting, the week of the 4th. So we're only having one meeting in July for regular commission meeting, and then obviously our regular utility meeting last Tuesday of the month. So what we're going to do in July at the 16th meeting, and I believe, Melissa, you're putting on an unfinished business, or it'll be somewhere on the agenda. But we're going to discuss the reordering of the agenda. So it's a resolution. So we'll have multiple things that you guys have brought up, and we have that discussion, and then you guys will determine what you want to do as far as modifying that existing resolution, which will be in the backup. And then we'll bring that back to the first meeting in August for you guys to approve, which would be the, I'm not sure what that date is, but we'll bring it to that first meeting in August.
Sixth.
Yeah, 6th, to get some approval on that. So that'll be the official. And other than that, that is all.
Can you just say
I
what
have.
the thoughts, so the folks know what the thoughts are about what we're actually trying to do?
Yeah, hey, Melissa, can you bring up what we discussed earlier on today? I know you had 3 or 4 things that we had.
It'll take me a minute to find it.
I know one was the reordering of public comment, and I believe you had talked about moving liaison reports as well as city manager report, as well as the attorney report, reordering that on the agenda. Another one was.
To the end of the agenda.
Yeah, to the end of the agenda. Another one was, we talked about presentations, qualifications for those giving presentations. There was another one, and I can't recall.
There's actually one that I found because I went through the resolution earlier.
Okay,
And something we didn't talk about last Friday, but has been talked about regarding the district public forums. There'd been a discussion about maybe changing them to town halls and having them biannually rather than quarterly.
And that was another thing I wanted to discuss as well, because with, especially this time of year, with budget workshops, with all the other stuff we have going on, now adding additional pre-agenda meetings and all this other stuff, trying to fit those in, because I'm currently trying to find when we're going to do the District 4 meeting, because we've got the budget workshop coming up, we've got the housing study / short-term rental workshop, or special meeting we have to schedule as well. We're supposed to have that updated, the finalized report next week, which I'll then get to you as soon as I have it, and then give you guys a couple weeks to go through that. But we're gonna have to get that one scheduled as well, which is looking toward the end of July, beginning of August. I know William in Community Sustainability has, I think, 2 workshops we need to set up for that as well. We also have like a mobility workshop. So there's a lot of meetings we're trying to wedge into everyone's already, I'm already seeing a head shake there. Everyone's already busy schedule. So just trying to fit all this in and
what we
work
gotta
that into
do.
everyone's schedule. Exactly. So, yes,
great.
that's something else we're working on.
Thank you.
That is all I currently have.
Do we have something from the city attorney? Come on up.
How's that? Okay. This is just requesting another attorney-client session in July. So requesting advice from the City Commission concerning pending litigation, specifically regarding settlement negotiations and strategy relating to litigation expenditures in the case of Trim Bath versus City of Lake Worth Beach, 15th Judicial Circuit, case number 2022, CA 005480, and request an attorney-client session to be scheduled for July 16th, 2024 at 5 p.m. Estimated length of that session is about an hour. Session will be attended by the members of the commission, Mayor Betty Resch, Vice Mayor Sarah Maliga, Commissioner Christina DeFoy, Commissioner Mimi May, and Commissioner Ronaldo Diaz, Interim City Manager Jamie Brown, City Attorney Christy Godot, and outside counsel Dana Clement. Certified court reporter will be present to ensure that the session is fully transcribed, and the transcript will be made public upon the conclusion of the above cited litigation.
I have one problem. I have a trial that day. It's set for the whole day. I try to never go to 5. That's my only, I mean, That's my only problem with that. What's the name, what's
It's an injury case.
injury case, okay.
And we can talk about it.
Ahead of time, yeah, I mean, I'll try, keep it at that date, but I just want to let you know if I'm late, it's because I'm saving some child from
Thank you.
terror.
And that's the only report. Other than that, everybody have a great, safe, happy week.
So it's really good to see you. Do we have to vote on whether we can have that or not? You just requested?
I'm just giving you.
Okay.
request. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Diaz?
I was just going to point out the 16th isn't great for me because I'll be actually traveling that day. So for our commission meeting, I'll be joining in virtually, which obviously we can't do for a closed door meeting. So
What if we did it the,
We've got a closed door session where you can attend by phone or
okay.
if it's in the back here, even perhaps Zoom, but we can have you participate.
Oh, okay.
If you'd be available at 5.
That should be okay. I'll be on
or
West
could we
Coast.
put it on the 30th before the utility meeting?
I think the problem is.
You have a
the
time?
trial date.
Okay. All right, I'll just do my best to be here.
Yeah. No.
And if you want, I can chat with each of you about what the case is
Sure.
about. But-
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. So I'm just putting it in my book here. Okay. So we're at public comment. Drew Bartlett, you're up. After Drew, we have Joanna Lenius, if I'm saying that right?
So I signed up to comment on the WMODA item.
Oh, I'm sorry, sit down. I'm looking for okay, I don't, one, two, and there's 1, 3, I don't see a 2. Oh, wait, yes, I do. Okay. Erin, and I don't know how to, I can't read your last name. Hi. Acton? A-K? Thank you. Oh, okay. Your name and address, please, followed by Mickey Jackson.
Good afternoon. My name is Mrs. Actis. I live in Jupiter, 122 Royal Palm Circle. This urgent public comment will address the critical election risks and vulnerabilities our communities are facing in Palm Beach County. This gross democratic process of centralization has failed. Municipalities must reclaim their elections and serve the people in this emergency capacity. Not doing so may be a liability and a detriment to our children's future. I'm a Palm Beach County citizen here requesting your participation in decentralization of ballots and vote tabulation, a grand jury seeking redress of our multiple grievances pursuant to Florida Election Code 104.43 and .42 and Florida Statute 905.33. Our history is great except for when it comes to voting. We have intimidation, non-citizen voting, Zuckerbucks, third-party interference, and weaponization of our PBSO. They've come to my house twice. Do you hold election integrity workshops to discuss the ever-increasing costs of these elections itemized in your budgets? Every municipality has a very important clerk, and that clerk shall be responsible for all public election records. Did you know that elections by definition have to be done by the town clerk? The clerk had an average voter turnout 3 times better in 1968. It was 68%. In 2024, our supervisor elections had her usual dismal voter turnout of 22%. The weather was perfect, no hurricanes or rain to blame. I'd say, Wendy, you're fired. In America's time of economic crisis, our county commissioners, specifically Mayor Sachs, is violating our First Amendment rights. She won't let us say elections before she cuts our mic. Spending money like ballots grown on trees to fund and certify an absolutely uncertified election just so they don't get in trouble. Then they blame it on the governor's policies as why the budget is at a ridiculous cost. No cast ballots because there is no chain of custody, period. We are past the border state invasion and is now in every county is a border county. And our governor is using the last 4 digits of our social security number, and our US citizenship is a cruel bargaining chip. We, the grassroots in Palm Beach, had great bills that died in Tallahassee. Mr. Crusoe didn't help us, and Mr. Roth helped us write the bill, but it died. Check out HB 1669. It would have secured vote by mail by 2/3. That means that we are now unsecure by 2/3. We have a constitutional crisis of epic proportions. We could have been leaders, now we're going to be victims. According to public information, currently in Lake Worth, there is average population of 42,000, and in March, your total registered voters were 14,000, and of those, 8,000 active voters. Your supervisor assigns 59 precincts in 27 locations. Why? Some have less than 10 voters, and some have no data at all. In this last election, 7 precincts were added in 3 locations, which produced a total of 194 votes. None for vote by mail, no early voting. Why only 23 out of 59 of the precincts were reported?
Thank you, that's time.
Thank you. It's a
Thank you.
3-minute limit. Thank you. Mickey, is it Jackson? Isaacson. Thank you.
Good evening, City of Lake Worth Public Servants. My name's Mickey Isaacson, and I live in Palm Beach County,
What's your address?
11260 Glen Orchard Lane, Boynton Beach.
Thank you.
I am visiting all 39 municipalities with similar comments. I, like many others, believe the 2020 elections were stolen. I've been observing our local elections at the Palm Beach County Supervisor of Elections Tabulation Center for the last 2 years. This is not about Democrats or Republicans or any party affiliation. This is about stealing our elections. We have a constitutional crisis. As a sovereign American, I am seeking a redress of our multiple election grievances pursuant to Florida Election Code 104.43 and Florida Statute 905.33. I am asking you to read and support these documents that will be handed to you today that include a request to convene a grand jury to investigate the 22 and 24 elections. Did you know our supervisor of election was appointed, tapped in by our governor? Then she changed her party affiliation before running in the following election. How many other leaders are tapped in, selected, not elected? The SOE employs temporary staff who have not taken an oath to the Constitution, and yet they touch and count our ballots and votes. The SOE is certifying our elections with dirty voter rolls, no chain of custody for the ballots, and the SOE allows the U.S. Postal Service to tamper with U.S. mail, which is a federal offense, by using postal bins to transport these ballots. We the people are awake, and we are appealing to all 39 municipalities in Palm Beach County to look into our elections and remove the illegal organizations that you pay into. Palm Beach County belongs to a charter county and Florida Association of Counties. The Palm Beach municipalities belong to the Florida League of Cities, who belong to the National League of Cities. How do they train you on ethics in electing versus selecting? I ask this because no one is looking into the election integrity concerns after being presented vulnerabilities and violations from we the people. All of these agencies are illegal. They are tied to the crown that is a one-party rule from the top down to the states. I would urge your city council and residents to insist on a tour of the $35 million supervisor of election facility. This tabulation center was moved in the middle of a presidential election, and public access is being denied. Why? We be proactive, Lake Worth, and follow the U.S. Constitution. Be the first to hold your own election with no machines, one-day voting, hand count your votes, certified paper ballots in your city hall, certify your own elections through your city clerk, and store the physical ballots at the town hall as it was once done in the past. There's no reason to outsource these elections to USBs that can change ballots, use internet that can be hacked, and vote by mail ballots and drop boxes that don't require citizen ID. This is a constitutional crisis. Our current
Thank you, that's time.
Next up,
Thank you very much.
thank you. Candice Rojas?
Good evening, public servants. My name is Candice Rojas. I reside in Boynton Beach, Florida,
What's your address?
3006 Waterside. I was just at the Palm Beach County Commissioners' budget meeting last week. Did you know they manage a $8 billion annual budget? So I don't think that you need to be bragging about federal programs for your kids and food banks and distribution centers from nonprofits to feed your residents. As a matter of fact, Vice Mayor, I will recommend a cot for you with your name on it at Head Start, or perhaps a permanent location in Cuba.
Ma'am, we don't do personal attacks in this room. It's part of the, excuse me, I'll stop your time.
I'm
We
responding
don't
to
do
hers.
personal attacks. Thank you.
The well-being of your families is under your watch, and fair elections should be your top priorities. I would like to recommend creating a heterosexual month to celebrate procreation, to keep the human race going rather than cloning hybrids. If everyone is gay, our human race is extinct. Just as Jesus overturned the tables of money changers in the temple, I am here to speak boldly, to intercede for those without a voice, defend the Constitution, and restore the Republic. What I'm about to say may shock those who only watch fake news, but we have a constitutional crisis. Our entire political, judicial, and governmental system is inherently broken. Our elections are not secure, and leaders at the local level have ignored substantial evidence of election vulnerabilities and violations right here in Palm Beach County. We have foxes currently guarding the hen house. We must trust God in the military, because whenever a government becomes destructive, it's the duty of the people to abolish it. The Constitution states all of the power, not some of the power, belongs to we the people. There's a house cleaning taking place right now at the local level. There's no more generational political nepotism or secret societies controlling the masses. No more appointed board members via the tap from secret society handshakes. The fake facade of fake leaders is actually over. Did you know Palm Beach County is an illegal foreign corporation called the Palm Beach County Charter, and Lake Worth is part of that charter? So you use taxpayer dollars to pay money to be a member of the League of Cities, which is a globalist organization which promotes a one world dictatorship, and the World Economic Forum, which is a criminal cartel whose primary mission is population control. Just like we saw in the 2020 scamdemic, plandemic, some of you may have even committed treason, I hope you didn't, or a crime against humanity by locking down people, closing public spaces, and promoting the death jab, the vaccine that's killing people, on and on. We have not forgotten the treason, and we as American sovereign do not trust the current process and believe that the 2020 election was stolen. You must take back your elections at the local level by paper ballots, valid ID, hand counting the votes, removing.
Thank you, that's time.
That's 3 minutes, thank you. Next up apparently is Christine Scott. No.
Hi, my name is Christine Scott, 14820 Military Drive, Delray. Manual elections with paper ballots counted at a precinct level and signed off by the approximately 5 designated officials is necessary for the election count to be valid. It's pretty much not happening. This is your city, make sure it happens here. Elections are important, it's important. You guys are public servants here to serve the public in Lake Worth. It doesn't happen with fake elections or rigged elections. As you likely know, there is proof that of Serbian and Chinese interference within US elections via, okay, oh my gosh, we're going to 101 election rigging here. Seriously, if you have not looked into this, I would like you to know that this is your obligation to protect the people of Lake Worth. You work for them. This is literally your obligation. If you are really this clueless on election fraud and that this exists, this is not a party issue. It happens equally on both sides of the party, or both sides of the aisle. It is a big deal because this is what our country is based on. Our republic is based on a democratic vote. That means that your vote needs to count. And with these electronic machines, it is not counting. And that needs to be fixed, and you guys need to participate in that process, okay? I guarantee you, if Trump comes in, you're gonna have a problem with it. You're gonna be screaming up and down, just like the Democrats did before in 2015. Chain Kill is the video you'll wanna watch. Elizabeth Warren's in it, a lot of other Democrats were very concerned about it until a Democrat got in office, okay? These are things that matter if we have a country. And currently, we're having some problems with it. And we need to fix that. Addressing it, rolling your eyes, going, oh my gosh, is she really saying that? Does not help at all. And it puts someone's credibility into question when they do that. You represent the people. End of story. And if you're incapable of doing that, this is not the position for you. ADA voting machines are not paper ballots. Florida is a paper ballot state, according to the supervisor of the Secretary of State, Cord Bird. I'm telling you this because you're responsible for what happens in this county. I'm telling you this because if you participate in this, if you allow this to happen in your county, there's a problem there, okay?
Thank you, that's time.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Have a good day.
You too, thank you. Well, I think that's it for, Madam Clerk, do you have any public comments?
I do, Madam Mayor.
Oh, well, why don't we hear them?
The first comment is from Joe M., 101 North A Street, City Library. The hours have changed once again. They are closed 3 days in a row, like Old Home Week. Staff knows all the people who hang out at the library and/or displaced persons. Although it's lessened from the redo of the library from years ago, there was an incident today on June 14th at approximately 4:30 p.m. where an officer came in and ejected a person known to them who had been sleeping in the library some time. It makes other patrons feel uncomfortable and is very disconcerting, not suitable for business. There was a plethora of persons during and after hours, especially when libraries closed. Now they are all talking about it with staff about other persons. New librarian is telling them about someone with a needle and smoking, reminiscent of years ago before library renovation when they would sit here all day. The next comment is from Sam Smith, 109 North Palmway. For a city that claims to be environmentally conscious, the state of trash and recycling disposal at the beach and in our parks is neglectful. At the beach, the trash cans are often overflowing, and since there are no covers on them, the trash quickly blows out and trashes the beach and ocean. There are no recycling bins on the beach either, which leads people to simply throw cans and bottles into the trash. It is also extremely unsightly and unhygienic to have open trash cans on the beach. We need to upgrade the trash bins to covered bins and add recycling, and they need to be regularly cleared multiple times a day, especially on the weekends. The same goes for Bryant Park and Snook Islands. Every time we go to either spot, which is not frequent because of the open air drug use by the playground at Bryant Park, the trash cans are always overflowing and spilling onto the ground. Again, this is a frequent issue on the weekends. When we go to South Olive and West Palm Beach, sadly, we have to drive there as we have no parks in Parrot Cove. There is no drug use going on, and the maintenance folks are there even on Sunday emptying the trash. Emptying the trash cans at the beach and park seems like a basic city service, and I remain surprised and disappointed that the city of Lake Worth Beach cannot handle this basic service. And the last public comment I have on non-agenda items is Sam Goodstein, 1717 12th Avenue South, Lot E4. I know that I speak from a position of privilege. I am proud to live in a nation where those who suffer with the Palestinian people enjoy freedom of speech and assembly. But the word Hamas was missing from their otherwise moving testimonies. October 7th was a declaration of war, murdering Israelis proportional to an attack on the U.S. of everyone in Lake Worth Beach. Justice is a rare commodity in this world. Did Hamas expect it from Netanyahu? Not any more than Al-Qaeda did on 9/11. No, justice is not the work of governments. Hamas wanted war. Congratulations to them on their success. With October 7th, Hamas just underestimated the response they themselves wanted. Hamas wanted a few rockets but got Dresden. Pleas for justice now lack that context. Hamas lit the fuse. If you want me to support justice for the Palestinian people, begin by saying Hamas are evil terrorists. That should not be too hard if you are honest. Where are the Palestinians who oppose the use of violence on their side? I never hear their voice, even in the US. Complain about the weaponization of anti-Semitism, but the 15 million Jews in the world don't have too many tools. And some of us are here only because grandma left Ukraine before the Nazis came. Elected, speak from the dais for Lake Worth Beach residents, prioritize the many voiceless here. That's the last comment on this item.
Thank you very much. Moving right along to the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The consent agenda. Do I have a motion? As changed.
Motion to approve as amended?
Do I have a second?
Second.
By Vice Mayor Malega. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you
Aye.
very much. Aye.
Don't forget me.
We just have to speak up. A new business, Resolution 21-2024, declaring support for the W. Moda Museum of Fine Arts mixed-use campus and the construction of a structural parking garage as part of a public-private partnership among W. Moda, the Lake Worth Beach CRA, and the City of Lake Worth. Do I have a motion? Oh, no, we have a motion, a second, first a motion. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Okay. Do we have public comment? Yes, we do.
We have a presentation too.
I'm sorry, who was the second? Who made the second?
Vice Mayor Maliga.
Vice Mayor Maliga. We have some public comment in this. Carla Bloxon. We have a presentation. Is that?
Carla Bloxon, 1802 Pierce Drive, Lake Worth Beach. I am the board chair of the CRA. And for the last year, I've been talking to everyone I know about how great W. Moda is. The Wheaton Museum of Decorative Arts will set Lake Worth as a destination place in the city, in the state, and also in the nation. This museum is phenomenal, and I urge Commissioners McVoy and Diaz to please go and see it, because it is just from the Chihuly to the African art, it is just outstanding. I have been twice, and every time I go, my head just is like a little bobble thing going from place to place because there's so much to see. But more importantly, this agency has made a commitment to the city of Lake Worth. They have worked diligently with city staff, and I want to thank William Waters and Jamie Brown and all the people who have been to the table to say how we can make this project work. Whenever we've been faced with an obstacle, we said, what can we do to get around it? What money needs to be put there? How do we make this partnership work? And that's what we're asking you today, to make a resolution of support for this idea, because it's not just for us. It's for the students who are going to come and enjoy the arts, for the art walk, for a place we're going to have a parking lot, a good parking lot downtown for the overflow that the museum will use during the day and other places will be able to use during the night. The people at the Gulf Stream will be able to walk to W. Moda to see a world-renowned collection of art. I can't ask you enough to please support this, and that the citizens know that you are now willing to make Lake Worth a city with a brand. We have been known for a lot of things in this city, and one of them has not been a good brand. So our brand needs to be the art destination for the state of Florida, and I ask you to please join us in doing that. And the citizens are counting on you to get behind this idea. You know, I talk to so many people, and they're always saying, well, what is the commission going to do? I said, I can only speak to the ones that I've talked to, and the ones I've talked to have been supportive. So I'm hoping that all of you will step up and do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Joanna Lenius, Lenius? I'm not saying it right. Hi, how's it? Lenius? Okay, not too far off. Your name and address.
My name is Joanna Lenius. I live at 12 Avenue, South End Street, Lake Worth. Please vote to support W. Moda. We need new progressive partners in our city. They are willing to work with the city and our residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
Drew Bartlett. See, brevity is the soul of discretion. I'm looking at you, okay? With great affection, I'm looking at you. Sorry.
I thought it might be just a
No,
right,
it
left
was
thing.
pretty deliberate.
No pressure.
No pressure.
Yeah, okay.
Drew Bar-
So anyway,
Done.
first,
Oh,
Drew Bartlett, thank you, 211 North L Street, also on the board of the CRA. And after sitting in this meeting, thank you for your service and bless you for your service. I've been working on the L&M project for a while, and having WMODA come forward and decide to move their museum here was really a blessing. Not only did they do that, but we said you need to do it in a very engaging and public way.
And they are.
They have stepped up and committed to that, very engaging and public dialogue. They come to our meeting, every single meeting, give an update. The charrette was pretty good. And so they've been very transparent, which was very important for me and for this city. But here we have a convergence here, as I see it. We have an incredible art collection coming to our city, which is an art city that has blowing glass reputation. And they're also bringing private dollars to a parking need that this city has needed for a while. And before they decided to come here, that didn't exist. So it's a win-win situation for us, and I really encourage you to support it. They need this to make their next steps. Another thing that the CRA needs in the near future is to consolidate all the land into CRA ownership. There is one parcel that is in city ownership right now that you guys need to decide to sell to us. The agreement's been written, but obviously it needs to get agended. So anyway, thank you for your support and your engagement in this process.
Thank you very much. They have done an amazing job of interacting with the public. Ms. Powell, you're up. Madam Clerk, do you have any public comments on this?
I do, Madam Mayor.
No? Yeah. you
Yes.
do. Okay, thank you.
Jenny, 224 North Palm Way. I apologize that I haven't followed this a whole lot. I did go to the Zoom or tuned into the Zoom meeting a few months back, and I do support it. I just have one comment, though. I was not happy to hear that they've already come out and said there will be no affordable housing associated with this. Apparently, they can't break even. I just want to let you know that that's a concern of mine. I think that's a concern of everybody's, that we don't have enough affordable housing in Lake Worth. And I don't know if that's something that is possible to address. I don't think, we're not there yet. I know this is still in somewhat the early stages, but I just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you. Thank you. Madam Clerk, that's all the cards I have.
Okay, I just have 3 comments.
Okay?
First is from Deborah Robert, 127 South K Street. I am 100% in favor of a WMODA mixed-use campus and a structured parking garage as part of the public-private partnership among WMODA, our city, and the CRA. We want to hold fast to what we are building, a vibrant, art-centric, and diverse little city. Nothing could be more perfect than WMODA, a world-class museum whose owners chose us because our character and spirit resonates with their own vision. The proposed site of the parking garage is ideal and would go a long way in encouraging people to visit, and can also incentivize prospective business owners to take a second look at utilizing our vacant storefronts downtown. It is a thrilling time for our wonderful city/family. Thank you for your service and for your consideration of this momentous resolution. Second comments from John Faust, 414 South M Street. Please move forward with the parking garage. Additional parking is desperately needed downtown. Myself and neighbors I've spoken to support WMODA as a wonderful addition to our city and our tax base. I can only see positive returns to us. And the last comment I have on this item, Greg Richter, 1202 South Palm Way. Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Commissioners. I'm writing to you tonight to give you my full support of Resolution 21-2024, WMODA project and parking structure. The WMODA collection is a perfect addition to our art-focused downtown. Furthermore, the 90 market rate apartments are a perfect addition of people to support our downtown merchants and make a more active downtown. The parking structure is a much needed additional parking in the right location. It was clear from the charrette that was held in May, the support for this project is overwhelming. Let's move this forward. This to me is what a public-private partnership should be. Greatly appreciate the open and transparent conduct that has taken place with all parties on this project. Well done, everyone. That's the last comment I have.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to call for the vote, and Sarah's not here right now, and I'm sure she'd want, okay, okay. Mr. McVoy?
Yeah, so did we have any discussion at all, or we
Well,
just?
this, if we want any,
Okay.
we could just take the vote.
We could, or we might want to discuss it a little bit, I think. I'm very much, everything I've seen of the Wamoto Museum and the things that they're proposing with the museum, I have no problem with whatsoever. I'm happy to see it come. No, I'm fully support. I am a bit concerned about the number of units, of housing units. I'm also concerned about that it would not have affordable housing in any of it, which seems to run quite counter to what we've been trying to do in the city for a while. The other couple things that are, to me, raise a little bit alarms is WMODA is asking for support. But I don't know exactly what that means. Are you asking for financial support? Are you asking for, yeah, it's generally a good idea, but we reserve the right to change our mind later, or to ask for specific things? It's not a very concrete proposal, and everything that I've learned from various trainings and things says that PPPs, public-private partnerships, can work great. The devil is in the details.
Right.
And the typical scenario that seems to get municipalities into problems is that the private side is usually much more experienced and much better equipped and much better staffed to look out for their interests on the private side of it. And the municipal side doesn't do very many of them, doesn't have staff that does that on a regular basis and knows what to look for. And so they can go awry because of that reason. We're saying that we think it's wonderful that we have a parking garage. It's not clear to me, okay, who's responsible financially? We're already on the hook for a parking garage as part of a development, and the price goes up for that in the future. It's already pretty high. It doesn't get used, and that wasn't even a full-on public-private partnership, but it did not work very well for the city. So my concern, as someone asked for support, is, okay, what exactly does that mean? What is WMODA asking for? It seems a bit like a check, and as somebody who has to represent the fiscally responsible for the city, blank checks are not very comfortable. So those are my concerns. Overall, the museum, I think, sounds wonderful. The idea of it being a destination for the city, no problem with that at all. But some of the details, I would feel more comfortable having a bit, more before just a blank check for support.
Thank you. Mr. Diaz?
When I went through the backup, that was a question I've gotten from at least a couple people in terms of what exactly does this mean? What are we supporting? And I just kind of want to lay that out there. It does. I thought it was relatively clear what we're supporting would be moving forward, looking at the options of being this partnership. I, for one, I obviously have very similar questions that have been brought up about the affordable units and whatnot, but we're not, look at the drawings, they're sketches, right? And they're not, I'm just trying to choose my words carefully. We've been through this in the past before where, we're going to have this conversation. This is just an agreement to look at this partnership so that we can have this better facilitated conversation, hopefully sooner than later. I really liked that I saw a proposal by the end of summer. That's really ambitious. But I'm sure the work has already started, so that's largely why. But in terms of the details, and yeah, that's a really top comment is when it comes to the 3 Ps, right? It's not that you should inherently be against them. It's that you have more questions to ask, right? Because there has been instances in the past, not specific to Lake Worth Beach, but municipalities who go into a partnership and the private side seems to really steer the ship. And it's less of a balanced partnership. And I think that's what people here don't want. I'm not saying that's what we're gonna get, or that's what even is being proposed, because quite frankly, it's just still way too early to have that conversation. And so I look forward to, at the end of summer, I mean, I don't know if William wants to kind of lay out, or any, like, the kind of what can we expect of this? What's the schedule? Because end of summer, a proposal is more like detail. It's not like they're submitting their applications yet, anything like that. But what can people expect from this process in terms of the coming months?
Well, good evening, William Waters, Community Sustainability Director. Usually when we have a presentation, we give that before the vote. So many of your questions would be answered. If you want the presentation, I can give it. However, this is not an agreement. This is a non-binding support from the commission for the Wiener family and WMOTA to move forward in the next steps to provide an overall concept, finalized proposal, terms, and all of that to the CRA and the city by the end of the summer or early September. There's a great expenditure of funds that has to take place in the next couple of months to pull all that together. And WMOTA would like to know whether the city supports officially moving forward with expending that money to work out all of those details. They are not asking for any money from the city. The parking garage issue would likely be some form of PP3. There's a myriad of public hearings that will have to take place in working out a parking garage, the 90 units that are being proposed, the art walk, the museum, the final design. As you know, with the Gulfstream Hotel, which is a similar type thing in terms of public review, there are hearings required, developer or charrette meeting that's required. And affordable housing or workforce housing is not completely out of the picture. They have agreed to look at, opportunities where we could have artists in residence. And also the CRA has discussed creating affordable housing possibly out of the historic buildings that will be moved from the site to another location. All those things need to be worked out with dollars and cents put behind them, performers created. But before WMOTA feels comfortable expending those tens of thousands of dollars to get to that level, they'd like some formal sense of support from the city. The attorney representing WMOTA is also here and can address some more concerns you may have. But this is really, the city's first initial acknowledgement of the project. And are you happy with us moving toward putting together all the parameters for PP3? If you're not, WMOTA will go away. But hopefully, based on the public support that's been demonstrated at the charrette and at all the public meetings and all the surveys and what has been expressed to you and by the Wiener family, you are supportive of investigating what this could look like and moving to the next steps that will be presented likely in September, at the latest October.
Thank you. I see Mr. Brown. Oh, you're.
I turned my light off. It was
Okay.
just, I was going to mention that we did have William up here in a presentation because it seemed like
Do we
were
want a
moving forward.
presentation? All right, let's have a presentation. I thought you wanted to go home by 8 o'clock.
I do, but it's such a big and important
Okay.
issue. It's going to be really helpful.
Okay.
So, we have a little presentation, and
All
this is derived from the presentation that was given at the charrette. So, there's a project team that is identified. I have to admit, in my over 30 years of working in the public and private sector at various levels, WMOTA has gone above and beyond in hiring a superior collection of people for their project team. The architects firm has a local presence. The civil engineer is local. One of their representatives actually grew up in Lake Worth Beach. They have been so responsive in providing information. City staff and the CRA has been meeting with that team every week on Thursday at 11 and have been other meetings to move this along because it is on a very quick schedule, to speak. The CRA gave them 6 months to put together a proposal. For those of you who have not met the Wiener family, this is a picture of them. They own United Management. They are the benefactors and owners of the nonprofit, which is WMOTA. It's Mr. Wiener's collection. If you do not know the history of how the collection came about, I would go to their website. It is fascinating how a young person studying law ended up becoming fascinated with the fine arts and eventually created not just this collection that's in Florida, but there's also a fairly significant collection in New York and in the Hamptons. So over the period since beginning about March, there have been a whole series of public engagement meetings with the NAPC, neighborhood associations, downtown business owners, stakeholders, the charrette, and all of it has been fairly positive. The two things that I learned from the meetings is, there is a concern about parking and where that will happen, and a concern about how much more traffic will be downtown, which is interesting because of all the issues since I've been here over 13 years. We've always wanted to have more traffic downtown to support our businesses and hopefully fill those vacant storefronts. Oops. So there's a critical path, and this outlines what the goal is. February and March are behind us, as well as March and April. They have created a conceptual design scenario that was presented at the charrette, and they got a lot of feedback on that. So we're at that area where the red arrow is. And to move forward to a final set of terms and a PP3 arrangement, and it may be more than one PP3, depending on how things go, there's a significant expenditure of funds that has to happen next. And so, as I mentioned earlier, the Wiener family and WMOTA would like to have a formal demonstration of support from the city before they incur those costs and move forward with putting something together, which the goal is to have a whole series of documents and formal agreements prepared for the CRA's participation and the cities by sometime in August or September. So this is just a little bit of information from the charrette. The location 501 Lake Avenue, which actually is the building that's still owned by the city. It's the former Chamber of Commerce building, and where parking and some leisure services activities are happening. There was an introduction from the design firm, which is known worldwide. Their team has been extremely focused on the sense of community, the sense of history, the cultural identity of Lake Worth Beach, have studied quite a bit what has happened downtown, the mistakes we've made with L&M in the past, and are really wanting to embrace an iconic form of architecture that fits in and creates a new sense of place and a destination for visitors, residents, and property owners in Lake Worth Beach downtown. Just a little bit of information that's just, I'm not going to go into all of this. They do have a West Palm Beach office, though the prime architect who's working is from New York. She and her associate have been just amazing to work with. They've taken constructive criticism, really worked hard to have a site plan that will work within the downtown. They've hired a preservation consultant who has actually worked in Lake Worth Beach before and helped develop the preservation design guidelines. And so they are well aware that they're in a historic district. They are on the major thoroughfare. There are design parameters that we have to respect and appreciate. The site that's in question is sort of this odd little shape that goes from Lake down M, and then also down L to First Avenue. There are 4 historic structures there that have been delineated to be preserved, which would be relocated as part of this project. One of the more expensive things that they are studying is a subterranean 1-level parking garage where there will be enough parking for all of the apartments on the site, as well as some parking for the museum. And that's a critically important next step, is studying the elevations and water table do allow for that, but that is a very expensive endeavor to create that type of parking structure. There will be significant amount of open space on the site, including vistas down in Art LA, which is down the alley. They do want to create connectivity with other locations within the downtown, including the Cultural Arts Plaza and the Cultural Council, which is directly across the street. And here are some of the driving principles that they're entertaining, were explained at the charrette as to drive how this project will eventually become a reality, is the urban connectivity with the rest of downtown, creating buzz and interest in the culture and art and identity of Lake Worth Beach, and also appreciating the contextual nature of the architecture, which we have a very strong Art Deco, Art Moderne, Streamline Moderne influence in Lake Worth Beach, though it doesn't mean that this the architecture will be necessarily that style. Some of the buildings that they have chosen to reference in that style, which are all sort of iconic as well as landmarks within the city. Some pattern that's represented in what we already have in referencing the identity behind Lake Worth Beach in our signage, and then these motifs that have evolved over time. So taking all that into consideration, this is a diagrammatic representation of how the project site is being studied. The museum would be on Lake Avenue and M Street. It would have a small retail component, a small cafe, some meeting space. It will likely be appear to be a 5-story building, but will be 3 stories based on the floor-to-floor heights necessary for a museum. And there likely will be some activation of the rooftop element, either for outdoor sculpture or for meetings, or maybe a restaurant might have a venue on the roof. The residential would happen to the south. Separating the two would be an art alley with decorative pavers, lighting, lush landscaping. There are vistas into and through the project as being proposed. They do understand and appreciate breaking up the massing of the building so they're not so large, so it would tear down from 5 stories in height down to 3 at First Avenue. This is another little diagram showing the connection to the potential parking garage, which is a city-owned surface parking lot. And the area to the south of it is where we're studying that the 4 buildings could all be relocated that are contributing. The uses could continue to be for public services, and leisure services, for parking, for their offices. 2 of the buildings are residential in nature that could potentially afford some affordable housing opportunities. That's all being looked at. They will cover the relocation of the buildings, but the renovation and restoration then will probably be of a different avenue, either through the CRA or another form of public-private partnership. The parking garage concept is based on, initially, so you'll be well of it, is that we have a parking in lieu of fee in the city. And if you are doing a new project or substantially expanding an existing project and you cannot provide the parking on site, you pay a fee to the city. It is likely that the museum will need around 70 spaces. So as it's going to come before you as part of the schedule of fees and charges, that those spaces are worth anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000. Right now the fee is $15,000, but it hasn't been changed in forever. And we've had open discussions that fee, whatever it would be attributed to the parking that they cannot provide, and it will become virtual spaces, but it will provide a substantial down payment for the cost of creating the new parking garage. And much of the visitation to the museum will come here for other reasons other than just the museum. So having a shared parking opportunity where people come and park there and they can go to the museum or visit their friends who live in the residential, and visit a restaurant or come to the theater, all makes sense, because we really does not make sense in a tight urban setting to provide all the required parking for every single building downtown, excluding or thinking that they're all mutually exclusive and they never share anything. The museum is not open at night necessarily, and so that parking will be available for nighttime activities. And so it really does, there's a synergy there that we can study. WGI has already done our downtown parking study. It's being updated, and it just is a fortuitous time to pull all these pieces together. This is a proposed layout of the subterranean parking at the site where the residential would be. And like I said before, all the residential parking would be on site, so that would not be any overflow to the parking garage. A diagrammatic layout of how the museum space would work, and then the various aspects of the apartment complex and what it might have. Showing the connection between the two. I have been in conversations with the Cultural Council and others about this. WMODA can't really fund the art alley going 2 blocks, but there are opportunities with the Cultural Council being involved that we can likely work out some grant opportunities, and others have that art alley go all the way from M Street all the way to K. Some imagery for the art alley that they showed. You have representation there of the Street Painting Festival. A potential diagram of the entry level of the museum. These are massing studies to show how the buildings could relate to each other. That green space that you see there is actually the green park behind the Cultural Council and the alley in the distance. The building will be punctuated with lots of fenestration and openings so you can see the interior courtyard with a pool and landscaping. Some ideas on architecture and its form. And then there's just a little sketch of how it could lay out. This is not finalized in any way. It did appear that people at the charrette did appreciate the tearing down of the structures and the museum being its own iconic piece of art, so to speak. Another study going across the Cultural Council's property to the residential piece. And this presentation is available online, so and it it was attached to the charrette. I only took off, I think, 2 or 3 slides from the charrette that were not germane to your meeting today. And so that's the presentation.
Thank you.
Well, Moda's attorney's here, and I'm here, and hopefully we can answer any other questions you might have.
Thank you very, very much. I see some lights on Ms. Malega.
Thank you. I did have the pleasure of going down and experiencing it for myself. A couple months ago, I was invited. And again, somebody who's not into art and doesn't know a Picasso from a Monet, I was overwhelmed with emotion. And the fact that I have come to all the CRA meetings and I have watched all the presentations and the updates. And I'm very thankful that we have an amazing CRA director and staff and board, because without them, I don't think that we would even be having this conversation. So I want to first give all of the credit to Joan, the CRA, and to the Weiner family for considering Lake Worth Beach. We are honored. We are truly blessed. I look at this as not just an art project, but as job creation, economic stimulation, and education for our youth. So when we talk about affordable housing, I look at the bigger picture. Again, I'm all about affordable housing, grew up that way, but there's a bigger picture of what this art institute is going to do for the culture and the future of the city of Lake Worth Beach. And I'm excited to get behind it. I support it. Of course, we're going to be very thoughtful in all of the design, and just like we have with everything else, making sure that the residents are at the front of the bus and they're helping drive this, because we want everyone to be behind it and to celebrate it. So I'm very excited. I don't have any questions at this point. I just want to sit back and say, yes, you have my support. I do understand that they're not probably just spending tens of thousands, but hundreds of thousands of dollars at this point. That was very kind of you to lowball it. But I understand why this is important. You know, before they continue to pay all of those great people that they've hired, they want to know that they have a supportive, city commission, and I'm 100% on board.
Thank you. Ms. May?
Thanks. I too have been to probably all of, maybe I missed 1 or 2 of the meetings regarding this project. And I did have the same questions that Mr. McVoy had, what exactly are we committing to? But then I read the background, and it just says that we're committing to going forward. Mm-hmm. And I think that's, I'm definitely committed to going forward. I have some issues just for later on conversations, but nothing that would impede the progress of the project. I think that regarding the affordable housing, I think that, not every single project has to have affordable housing. At least that's my opinion. I think it's great. I mean, we should strive to have affordable housing by all means, but not with every single project. And I think that the other attributes that come with this project kind of counterbalance the fact that there's now 10 units that are at affordable housing. I do think that the artisan residence concept is unique, and I think that if they wanted to do that and go forward, I think that I would highly support that, but it wouldn't be a deal breaker for me at all. I'm just excited. One thing that I liked about it was when they said that they needed a 6-month timeline. Part of me is like, yeah, right. But they have hit every single marker. When Mr. Diaz was talking over here, I was hoping we were going to see the presentation, because I obviously read it in the background, and I knew that the little bubbles were going to come up. And it's been so fun. It sounds so stupid, but it's been so fun to watch the little arrow
go from each bubble as we move on with this project, and it's been on time. And that just, it helps me to trust the project. It helps me to trust the developers. It helps me to trust the family. You look into Mr. Wiener's eyes and you know that he's not trying to make money. This is his love, and he is just trying to find a place to land. And, but he also doesn't want to burden his family with having to pay for it forever. So I think that, we couldn't have a better synergetic relationship with this, and I am 100% in support of moving forward. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just have a quick comment. Yeah, this is Mr. Wiener's legacy project. This is from his heart, his passion. When he talks about how he started collecting when he was a young man in London, it's fascinating. In terms of practical stuff, in terms of the parking garage, I had one thought, I'm interested because there's going to be about 90 spaces that we're going to lose because of what's behind, the parking lot now. 65, no, it's the ones behind.
I went out and counted. That we have the surface parking lot covered, all the existing surface parking covered, enough parking for the museum, and some extra.
Okay,
And
because.
that will all fit in the parking garage that was studied by WGI.
And I've looked at that study. I just looked at it today. One thought I had was, and if we're going to do a parking garage at this point, if that's enough, okay. But I also thought, and I mentioned to them at this charrette, would it bear any looking at the entire block down to First Avenue South? If we're going to do a parking garage, maybe we should make it a little bit bigger. Maybe not just, because that's a pretty small footprint for a parking garage in terms of radius of turns and things. And I just thought maybe they could consider at some point bringing it down to First Avenue South. And I know you have the buildings, which is a great idea.
It would not be they, that will be us.
Okay, but I'm just saying, I
We're
mean,
the
for
ones who are
us.
going to have to fund the parking.
Okay,
garage
but I'm just,
anyway.
should
And
we?
and that question came up like 7 times to me, and I said, we do not know whether we economically can carry a garage that big. In addition, the southern end of that property is in a historic district, and there has to be some sort of transitional architectural buffer between a parking garage and the rest of the area that's actually in the historic district. It also will very quickly increase the cost of moving the structures that you all have required to be preserved if they have to be moved anywhere else outside of the downtown. We're only 2 blocks away, and if they're all going to the same site, the cost of relocating them comes down substantially. If those buildings do not get moved there, and the CRA owns the property across the street, but that's sort of earmarked for something else, then the cost to preserve those buildings becomes probably infeasible for us to even move forward on. And so, this WGI study demonstrated that a garage would provide enough spaces that would serve us through this and into the future. And again, I do not want, we've heard complaints about sort of like the Delray Beach. It's like a big road. The bigger you make a road, the more full it gets. So the bigger the parking garage you might make, it might end up getting full of a lot of cars, and then we're going to actually end up with a complaint that people have. There's too much traffic coming out of a gigantic parking garage on a one-way street. So we're trying to marry a whole variety of interests and concerns from a whole variety of people who have good recommendations and good thoughts. And so I don't know whether we'd ever be able to afford to have the parking garage go all the way to First.
And you're convinced that the site that the WGI had put in, the plan that they had put in, will cover and leave us after the museum, after the ones that we lost on L Street, will cover all those needs?
And one of the things that we're going to do, since it has been preliminarily found economically as an option, our parking garage on the city site could have one level below grade.
Okay.
Below grade.
And then that would add about 65 spaces to the almost 300 that would fit in that garage.
Okay.
It would drive the price up exponentially.
Exponentially.
However, I believe that the community would embrace a parking garage that stays shorter.
Yep.
And also has an architectural transition from itself to the historic district. And that's something that I think more people can buy off on.
Okay, but I love the idea of having the buildings at that end of First Avenue. All right, as long as you're satisfied that that's enough.
there's something
I
else
see,
that keeps
I see
coming
the
up.
attorney trying to animate.
Yes, and I'm
trying
going to, right now, between the CRA and private developers, the city has almost 1,100 deed-restricted affordable workforce units in the works. Lake Worth Beach has more deed-restricted affordable housing than anywhere else in the county.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
We actually had the county beat.
Yeah, I was just meeting with some of the commissioners, and they're like, Lake Worth, you guys are like doing it. Okay. Sir, would you come up and introduce yourself and tell us what you want to say?
Mayor, I'll be brief. I heard you loud and clear.
Thank you.
My name is DJ Duty. I'm a lawyer in Fort Lauderdale. I have the pleasure of being retained by the Sunshine Lake Worth Development LLC. That would be the developer. And I want to briefly respond to some of the issues you collectively raised this evening. But let me make it very clear. My client is committed to this project. That's the word they've told me. I'm the last one to bring on board. You may have met Renee Miller. She's fortunately, she has a family commitment that conflicted with tonight's meeting.
Okay.
So I was drafted. But I'm the guy who's not going to take advantage of the city or the CRA, Commissioner. You have very competent legal service both with the city and the CRA. And I also represent municipalities, and I want to address that issue. If we take advantage of you, it doesn't work. It has to be an equal partnership that benefits all parties. And that's what my client is seeking to do, because this is not a development project similar to apartment buildings.
Right.
It's really love. And that's what they've committed to me. And I don't know anything about art. I'm just a lawyer. So I'm gonna work on the details. It's an aggressive schedule. We're gonna do our best to meet those dates. They've told me that I need to work day and night, weekends if I have to make this happen. And I'm committing to you this evening to do that. But the resolution before you is non-binding.
Right.
But it's an important expression to my client that the city will entertain and support this garage. Because I can tell you this garage is a key component of this project. Without it, it'll be very difficult and will change the degree of complexity. So we're looking for your support tonight, only in a resolution. We're not looking for a blank check. We're not looking for any money, Commissioner, respectfully. We're looking for an expression of support that's non-binding, that my client will take that as a vote of confidence and move forward with what you've talked about, an expenditure of considerable sums to continue on this project. I hope that answers all your questions. I hope I'm brief enough. And I look forward to working with your city attorney and your CR attorney to make this a reality.
Thank you very much, and good, I mean, Mr. Weiner, this is such a passion. When you meet him, you can just feel it coming off him. And I've been to the museum as well, and it's spectacular. So thank you very much. We have a motion and a second. Do we have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
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 It's unanimous. Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for putting this together.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.
No, I haven't been there.
You gotta go. It's
It's
awesome.
amazing. It's crazy.
Yeah, we'll get down there.
It's crazy. The room of Chihuly itself is just like ginormous.
I like the African art the best.
Oh, my God.
They take separate rooms and they decorate
Yeah,
them and like do a
yeah.
whole.
The African is, I mean, you look at it, it's this fine porcelain, and you look closer, and it's zebras and
No,
lions.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
totally decorate, and
Yeah.
it's not that expensive.
Good. Hi there.
Hi.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Did we,
I know everybody wants to get out of here.
did we, okay,
Next agenda item.
right, are you giving a presentation?
I am Jenny Powell. I am the vice chair of the tree board.
Right.
And I am sort of giving this presentation,
Well, let-
probably with some input from Mr. Brown and
Okay,
Mr.
but
McGrew.
generally, we start with some sort of action.
Oh, okay.
And some,
All right.
and commission comments. You're just a
Okay,
take
I'll-
charge
I'll
kind of
sit
girl.
down.
I like that.
I'll sit
I'm Ginny and I'm here to
Well,
talk
Dave
to
told me to
you.
get up here. She
Um,
said, "Go ahead and
She
get
said
up
it's
there."
8:06 and there's a Stanley Cup game on or something.
Okay, this is regarding.
We need updates on scores, by the way.
My husband could tell you. Let me text Louis. Okay, this is.
No, we don't for people who are taping the game. Thank you.
I have before we get started, I just have, that's why I'm kind of like, so I have a question about this agenda item, and I don't know if there's some confusion or what's going on. This is we're talking about the $50,000 that we set aside for the Nest and the city and your money was put together. Regarding Bryant Park, when I read the background and justification, it sounds like we're hiring somebody to tell us what to do with that $50,000 in Bryant Park.
Well, I thought I might answer some of those questions.
All right.
Talk more about
Okay, all right.
it, I can go up anytime.
Okay, why don't you and Mr. Brown? I see Mr. Brown's light is flashing at me.
Yes, Jenny, come on up. So just a little clarification at the beginning here. So, and there was a little confusion, but we basically had the 25,000 that came from the tree fund, and you guys agreed to put the other 25,000. So there is a pot of $50,000 sitting
Right.
out there that we said was going to go toward both tree planting / tree giveaway and some type of mix. But the intention was to have this RFQ go out for bringing an entity on board that would help with this process. Now, in the meantime, while that was going on, you guys have made a decision to move forward with spending this $50,000 for the Bryant Park. Now, keep in mind that each year we were going to be allocating a certain amount of money for increasing our tree canopy. And the point of the RFQ is to get someone on board for a multi-year contract that would help with each year doing that. This is kind of separate from the $50,000 you guys wanted to move forward with the Bryant Park planning, though. But the whole point was to have someone on board, so consistency. And as we allocate money each year, we would have the same type of plannings moving throughout the city as we're looking to increase our tree canopy. Now, what were the questions?
I have
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and start. I mean, my vision for this $50,000 was we have $50,000. It's for Bryant Park. We have enough expertise in this city, from master gardeners to landscape people on the tree board, to say, here's $50,000, do your best in Bryant Park. And this other ongoing contract would be something separate.
Well, I see it as kind of a concurrent process, is sort of, thank you very much for your support for the trees, because along with the city and this group of neighbors encouraging shade trees, known as Nest, it's just a group of concerned citizens. Last fall, you basically expressed support for the Tree Canopy Restoration Fund, 25,000 from there, and 25,000, I think it was from the ARPA funds. At that time, I thought it was kind of general, but at that time, or after that, Interim Manager Brown asked the tree board to develop a scope of services to be attached to an RFQ. This is a separate RFQ from, I think we talked about a little bit, the Parks and Open Spaces RFQ. That's different. So that we wouldn't be held up by that. This is a separate RFQ. The scope of services that the tree board put together is in your backup. I won't go into all the details. But I'm going to go into the rationale, but essentially we did that. We've written it out. We also decided to include tree giveaways. We'd like to start doing this. CRA had apparently a very good tree giveaway last weekend, I think very successful. So we've talked about this a lot, but this would be a way to wrap a lot of things up and have a multi-term, I was going to get into that, but, and a little bit, I had a couple more slides on sort of the timeline, but the RFQ is a multi-year thing. Once you approve the scope of services, that will be attached to, I believe, a boilerplate kind of RFQ that the city uses. And then it's going to go out to a qualified contractor, landscape professional, who can wrap up all the services. In the landscape business, and I just did a little project, there are people who provide different kinds of trees. No one landscape or nursery business has every kind of tree that you want or every kind of shrub that you want.
you've got other associated tasks that go along with that. And it just seems like there's, this person do this person do this. And it just, to have one contract, a multi-year contract, I think it's like 5 years.
Oh, yeah, it was 3 and then the additional.
3 with
one and one.
extensions. So anyway, that's the idea behind the RFQ, or part of it. So we don't have to go through the bid process every time we
I
want to
think
do a
we
project.
understand that.
Sort of the one-stop shopping, as I mentioned. So I think when this is done tonight, the RFQ will go out within 30 days or so. And so that's a process. There'll eventually be a contract in which we hope to be awarded in roughly October. And then to get all the design and everything to come together. But we're still looking, that's a long-term thing. Concurrent with that, or sort of concurrent with that, the Nest people I know that they've met with you, Mayor. And there's if you look on the board, this wasn't in your package, but I just added this slide. This is the tiny forest concept, which came up at, I think, the last commission meeting.
Yep.
And the Nest people have proposed this, and I think it's a wonderful idea, very cool. It is this tiny forest, small scale, to replicate something in nature. That's just a graphic, but we're starting to put I've been working with Gail a little bit to start putting some numbers to this. This, I think we could do maybe one of these as a prototype, or 2. Gail and I are.
With the 50?
With the 50. And well, it might be that we do one and using some of that 50, but then maybe the rest of it is picked up. They're proposing 10 tiny forests in Bryant Park. Maybe the rest of it is, and I'm just speculating, but maybe the rest of the 9 are picked up by the RFQ. I think we can do one with volunteers. We have to have some contractors, and it sounds like they can be done with purchase orders fairly easily. I'm not saying it's going to happen next week or next month or even 2 months, but I know Gail is really gung-ho to get this done ASAP. Let's see. So anyway, this is the tiny forest. You can see how you've got the canopy trees and a sub-canopy, ground covers. I think it would be good to show some progress. I personally would like to see some success. Seems like there's a lot of talk around trees, improving our canopy, dealing with the hat rack trees, or preventing hat racking. I haven't read very many of my notes, but I think I've got most everything in here. The largest trees would be pretty much standard what we've done on other projects, and for Arbor Day, 25-gallon shade trees, 5 to 7 per plot, if you want to call it that.
You mean for the tiny forest?
For the tiny forest, for each tiny forest. So I don't want to speculate too much on that. Like I said, trying to put some numbers on it, using volunteers, a contractor. We talked about using one contractor to, like, Smarty Plants, Smarty Plants.
right.
So we're not dealing with 6 POs to somebody for the oak trees and somebody for the green buttonwoods and somebody for the pine trees and somebody for the ground covers. That's what happens a lot. That's why we want the RFQ too. So we're not going to, or so you can have one contractor through the RFQ who could gather all the trees. And that would be for the tiny forest, somebody like Smarty Plants who could do that. We can order the plants from them. They can get everything we want and they can deliver it.
For this prototype,
For the-
50,000.
for
So am I hearing that you and the tree board and Nest are okay? So I don't want to hold this up. I'm like
Right.
Gail. I'm just like, please, let's
Right.
plant some trees. Do we have to wait? I mean, so it's RFQ 30 days. Are you saying,
I'm saying this is a separate.
we don't have to wait for the
separate, sort of
RFQ?
related. No, we
That's-
don't have to wait
that was
for
my
the
only
RFQ.
concern. Okay.
I mean, it might not be just a matter of months between the difference between the RFQ
But let's get
and the
going.
tiny forest. We do have, I know Gail and I don't see quite eye to eye on this. I think we've got July and August coming. It's very hot to do a project, but it can be done. And I think between 1 or 2 contractors that we can do POs for, volunteers, also we talked about a design, making sure we get the right design, but there are volunteers. The county environmental resources management builds habitat all the time. They do mangroves, they do uplands, they do maritime hammocks. So there are opportunities for, to get volunteers from neighborhood associations.
Okay, so-
Commissioner May, I think you mentioned Boy Scouts,
Yeah.
Eagle Scout projects. There are opportunities, but
Community
there's
service.
still a lot of stuff that needs to come
Okay,
together.
but as
It's
long
not
as the
gonna happen.
50 is separate from the RFQ, that were the
Well,
long-term
Well, there
one.
might be a marriage of the two down the road.
At some point, right.
But I think if we can get one or two tiny fourths
That's my only
going,
concern.
get them done, I mean, we're gonna make some mistakes, probably this is the first time, work the kinks out and get one or two done.
Okay, thank you.
Pretty soon.
Thank you. I have some lights on. Commissioner May, I think you were first.
Yeah, it's kind of like what the mayor said. I mean, it feels like there's two different agenda items here. That it almost should be split. One is let's do the trees in Bryant Park because the whole entire background justification specifically talks to that point. There's no background saying that we need to have a scope, we need to have the services for the entire city for,
Which we've talked about before, though.
Right, and I'm not saying that we don't. I think we do, and I think that the scope of, the work that you guys did is fabulous. I would just like to see it as two separate agenda items. I think one is let's do Bryant Park, two is let's get this going. And I don't think we can, I don't know how we would make that happen, but it just feels to me that if we approve this, it doesn't feel like it's gonna, if somebody's reading it 10 years from now, that's not gonna be clear what was done. Hold on, we're not discussing.
Okay.
I'm just stating how I'm feeling about this. I feel like it's two different items. So I'm gonna turn my light off and listen and see where we go from here.
Vice Mayor Malega was next.
Thank you. I thought when we had the diagrams and Ness said we're gonna put trees here and we said go forth and plant trees and give you $50,000, I didn't think that we then had to talk about designs and RFQs, and I thought that this was already, we have a plan, we have a design, we know where we're going, so I'm a little confused on that. I do know that John Prince Park, I was just there this morning, planted a gazillion trees, it seems like. Why couldn't we just find out who their contract was and try to piggyback on that contract? Is that something we could look at doing since they literally just did that?
I think that's Ms. Powell was talking about.
Instead of going out for an RFQ separately?
Well, the RFQ came about before the tiny forest. Maybe
No, I
can
hear
make that
you.
clear. That's a long-range thing, so that we, like I said, we don't have to go out to bid every time we do a project. So the scope of services that you're here to approve tonight, I would recommend that you approve that be attached to the RFQ.
Where's the money coming from? Where's this 25,000 coming from?
No, this is, that's the confusion. Because when you read, with all due respect, when you read, it talks about the 25,000, but then it talks about scope, like the RFQ scope, it should have been two. One, let's get going with the 50,000, and number two, let's approve the suggestions that the tree board has come for the RFQ. Because it's kind of melded, and in my mind, it should be
A
two.
little bit, but I think it does go on to say an additional 25,000 from other city funds to plant native shade trees. It doesn't really necessarily specify where they will be. Part of it does specify. Recommend the city commission the 25,000 for the tree canopy restoration fund to plant native trees in Bryant Park.
Right.
And it goes on to say the additional 25,000 to plant native shade trees.
Right, but I'm talking
And
about this, whoever this person is who answers the RFQ is gonna wanna get paid. Where is that money coming from? That is my question. There's nothing in here that
Just waiting
says,
patiently.
there's
The
nothing.
Let's let Mr. Brown, let's let
Question
Mr. Brown.
qualification.
I understand
We're going
that.
around in
I
circles.
understand that, but
Okay.
if we just request for qualifications, we're gonna hire somebody, assuming that they come and they give us their bids. I'm just wondering, where is that funding gonna come from? Because again, I think we're all on the same page. I literally thought that this was done, wrapped up in a bow, go do Bryant Park, and then I guess we, like,
And I'm
I've heard
kind
it
of
should have been
hearing
separated.
we can. Mr. Brown's going to address this. I mean, we have talked, there was that group that we were going to hire that, I forget the name. Right. So we're opening it up to more than the green people, like that one firm.
Yes.
Mr. Brown, would you please?
Yes,
Set
so
us straight,
this
if you
kind
can.
of, as you mentioned, there was a group that came, a company that came and gave a presentation last year. This is kind of what the RFQ came out of. Because there are more groups that do that kind of thing, that have different qualifications. So we said, instead of just going with the people who said, hey, can I come give you a presentation? Let's put together an actual RFQ, so more companies that do this for a living can all look at this and possibly put in a proposal to offer their services to the city, which is what we did. And I said, if we're going to do that, we need to enlist the services of the Tree and Landscape Board, because we have very, very qualified people that serve on that board. So we wanted them to develop the scope for this RFQ that would go out, which is what is before you right now. In the time that was happening, the Bryant Park, let's just move forward and kind of bypass the RFQ, even though we're still working on putting together the scope for the RFQ and putting this whole thing together to go out. In the meantime, they said, hey, we have the 50,000, why don't we just move forward with that right now? Again, this was still working concurrently, because we still need to have someone on board long-term.
No disagreement.
To answer the Vice Mayor's question. We want to allocate money every single year toward increasing our tree canopy. This is what this RFQ would do. So as we allocate a certain amount of funds in each budget for doing this, we already have someone on board. We already have their schedule of fees as far as if we want them to look into doing more of these in certain locations, we already know what that's gonna cost. If we wanna look into certain tree giveaways, if we wanna look at different planting things, we're gonna already have their list of costs. They're already under contract with us. We don't have to put this out. We don't have to worry about, well, how much is that gonna cost? Does that mean we'd have to go to bid? Can we just do it because it's on 50,000? That's already on the books. We have them for 3 years plus an additional 2-year renewal if we wanna do that. That's this process. But keep in mind, when this started, we didn't say, let's move forward with the 50,000 for Bryant. That had not happened yet.
Right.
That happened after we had started this process. So now that we said we want to move forward with the 50,000 in Bryant, which is what we're also talking about, which is, I guess, the kind of confusion here.
Right.
Because we didn't start out with these two separate things at the same time. We started with the RFQ first, and then it was decided after this was going that we wanted to move forward with the 50,000. Now that we want to move forward with 50,000, and we've had the Nest people come and talk to us about it, and in talking with Ginny last week, I think initially the thought was, let's just throw a bunch of trees in. But people are starting to now realize you have to have some kind of planning in doing this. You can't just go out there and throw trees everywhere. There is a systematic way to do that, and that's what we had discussed last week. So that's why, and Dave you can pipe up too when we talk about this as well. There's a way to do this properly, and you can't just throw everything everywhere and just bunch everything together. So there's a little bit more planning that has to go into this to make sure that it's done the right way. I mean, $50,000, it's a good amount of money, you know? So we don't want to do things that aren't going to work out. We don't want to plan all these things and not all of them survive. We want to make sure we're doing this the right time of year. We want to make sure they're established correctly, make sure they're planted correctly. There's a right way to do this, because the last thing we want to do is just rush and say, okay, let's just throw all this stuff in here. 4 months later, half of them are now gone. And the question is, well, the city put this money and budgeted this money for this, and now half of it's dead. Well, if you don't plan and plant properly, that can possibly
I don't
happen.
think anyone's suggesting not planning.
Well, there was some discussion
Yeah.
back,
Well,
well,
I meant doing
community
it
greening
fast,
came
yeah.
in. Community greening uses only volunteers, and I'm not denigrating their work, because I've seen the project in Prince Park and it's great. They're smaller trees, but they use all volunteers for planting. They do smaller trees. We want to have per tiny forest, or even in anywhere else in the city, in the Arbor Day projects, those were all 25-gallon trees. Volunteers cannot plant 25-gallon trees. There's certain things that the volunteers can't do. City staff is very limited. So was my reasoning for saying, well, let's try one, maybe
Right.
two, and get those to survive, learn from, work the kinks out, and move forward, and perhaps at that point, the RFQ kicks in. I mean, as it's not inconceivable, but I'm just throwing that out. The only reason I brought up the tiny forest is, I know it's not really, it's related, but not to what's before you today. It did come after kind of the discussion last fall. The tiny forest is a more recent thing, but you can't do it all with volunteers either. You've got to have some contractors involved. And if at some point contractors take over all of it, because really 10 tiny forests at one time is too much. We can't do, in my opinion, we can't do 10 at once, but we can start on it, is my
Right, so
opinion.
all that's before us tonight is to approve or disapprove the scope of services that the tree board came up with.
Yes.
That's all, okay?
Yes.
But I will say the back of it, it's very confusing because it really focuses on the $50,000. So when I read it, I'm like, oh, we're talking about, then I read, yeah, no, okay, so we all have our lights on.
Motion to approve.
Can
Do-
I speak some?
Well,
I've been waiting
do we have,
patiently.
I understand. Have we got a motion and a second yet? Okay, motion by Commissioner, Vice Mayor Malega, second by,
Oh, second.
okay, Mr. Diaz. Yeah, I mean, are we gonna beat this dead horse into a?
No, I
I
don't
think
think
it's-
so.
Okay.
I
All right.
think I can
Mr.
give, I
McBoyd,
did
vote.
attend the tree board meeting last Thursday, I think it was. Good discussion. There were people there from the Nest group that were encouraging the Tanny Forest, the regular people from the tree board, and I should speak into my microphone. Thank you for the reminder. Somebody reminded me. No, Vice Mayor Malega is correct. It was not on. Sorry. What came out of it, and I fully understand the confusion between the two. Is there two sets of 50,000? Is there one set of 50,000? Are we going to do, how are we doing this? I get that, and I think it's understandable confusion. The piece that I saw, and I think Ginny and probably David would probably agree, as we were thinking about this tiny forest idea, which is that's not something that, oh, people have been doing that for the last 50 years and we know how to do that. It's, when you do planting of native species, that's a different deal than your average landscaping company that plants typical landscape stuff in South Florida. So that already bumps it up if you say you want to do native trees, which I think everybody does. If you want to do a tiny forest, now it's a whole nother layer of complication. What came out is, whether it's out of this RFQ or out of something else, there is going to need some planning. And here's one specific for you, and I was quite concerned that you be aware of it, Mayor, because I know that you're very much behind the project of let's do something and let's do it relatively quickly, which I fully support. Here's some of the deal. When you look at a sketch like that, that's very different than what you're actually going to see. And the details don't matter, but some of the details do. And here's a piece that I think we can all get our heads around. PBSO has, and I always forget what the name for it is, but there's a name. They have a whole set of criteria of how to plant such that it works for public safety. It's almost opposite from the idea of a tiny forest. Tiny forest, you want to create a dense grouping of multiple heighted plantings. That's very different what you see in Bryant Park, where you have individual tree trunks where it's completely bare until you get maybe 10 feet up, 8 feet up, something or other. PBSO loves the individual trees because there's no place to hide, there's no place for people to stash stuff, but that's not a tiny forest. So even for doing one of these tiny forests, somebody's going to have to put some thought into it, think about the species, sketch it out, maybe show a picture, and make sure that you're on board, that PBSO is on board, and somebody's got to do that. And probably not for free. Is that part of the RFQ, or do we do it separately and make it happen quicker? Whatever, but I think there's going to need to be a stage, as our assistant manager correctly says, whoa, you don't just want to drive off the edge of the cliff here, because there are conflicting things, and you got to make sure PBSO's bought in, you're willing to support it for people who may say that, hey, it's going to block the view. Maybe there's some back and forth, well, maybe it isn't a tiny forest, maybe it's...
We'll get there
yeah.
when we're really just talking today
The
about.
planning needs to happen in order to move forward
Of course
quickly.
it does, but it's
So that's-
we're making a distinction without a difference. This was really confusing. All this about the 25 just really threw us off, okay? So of course there's planning. I'm not suggesting we just go to Amelia's and buy a bunch of trees. Of course there's planning. My concern was that the whole giant scope RFQ, looking for the people, is going to hold up what we have tried to get. And that's all I ask, and that's all I ask. I mean, of course, there's going to be planning. What do you, I mean, I
This
don't know.
Well,
conversation
if you're-
would be different if Nest hadn't come forward with the
Right,
team
right,
for
we
us.
wouldn't have had that.
So the RFQ would have still been. it was
We're doing the
influence.
RFQ. There's no
So
question
that's-
that we're doing the
okay.
RFQ.
But I thought there would be questions because.
No, we've
The
already
difference
talked
between
about
Bryant
it. I
Park
mean,
and the
it's in the
RFQ
works.
and the tiny forest, but it's, okay.
Okay, I think we're conflating.
I mean, the tree board still I mean, the tree board has consensus on this,
Mm-hmm.
but I talked to Dave today, and we think we probably need to vote on it next month. We did not vote on it, but there is consensus.
Okay. And you put in, you reserve the right to change it, and that's fine. Are we all gonna,
And apologies on the 25,000, mentioning that, because keep in mind that the whole idea for the RFQ, that came out of the 25,000 the tree board had asked for, the 25,000 you guys agreed to match, and we said, if we're going to start doing this on an annual basis, and we're going to allocate money,
Right.
yes, we have the 25 and 25 now.
Right.
We need to have someone on board, but that's where this whole thing originated from.
okay.
So
but I
we
mean,
wanted to make
well,
sure we
had
gave the
talked about
background.
We had talked about the green people before I jumped on with the Nest people. So we had been chatting about that. about
Correct,
having
but
an
that was
RFQ.
the background. That came from that 25 and 25. So in the background and justification, we wanted to make sure we gave the actual background of where this initiated from, which was the 25 and 25. And we said, if we're going to allocate money annually, we really need to have someone on board to do
Yeah,
this.
I mean, the vote is, do we accept the tree board's recommendations for the RFQ?
Madam Mayor,
Yes?
I do have a public comment.
Okay, why don't we hear it?
The one public comment from Gail Silverblatt, 414 North Ocean Breeze. We've all heard the news that this was the hottest May ever. We know summer is still coming and it is getting hotter. We feel the effects of the hot streets and sidewalks. Neighbors walking their dogs know to go earlier in the morning or later in the day and not to linger in the street, but to stand under a tree when there is one. Neighbors encouraging shade trees or Nest has been working with Mayor Betty Resch since last August to increase the tree canopy in Bryant Park. And we thank you and the commission for your enthusiasm and approving the funding. And when over 60% of the residents of the Lake Worth Beach Mobility Plan survey say they want more shade and trees along the sidewalks, it is important to set aside future funds to increase the tree canopy citywide. The Tree and Landscape Board Scope of Services RFQ is before you for your approval and should smooth the way forward to aid city staff in the quest for more shade throughout the city. Please approve the Scope of Services RFQ. That's the only comment.
Okay, because we have a motion, we have a second. I'm sorry?
Now I get it.
Now you get it? Do you want your light on?
Yeah, well, just for 1 second, can I
Sure.
just ask?
Real quick.
So the only thing that's going to go in for forever is the motion and the acceptance, right? Not necessarily the background.
Right.
Because that's the only part that confuses me. So if you take out the background, it makes perfect sense.
We will omit the background next time. in
Well, no, the
section.
background's good, it just needs
No,
to
it's not.
match.
It's terrible.
Well, it doesn't match this. Like, if you started at the sentence, the last sentence.
Yep.
That said, the interim city manager requested that the tree and landscape board create the scope and services, perfect, blah, blah, blah. That's it, that's all you needed. The other stuff was just made it so confusing.
Okay.
Like, I definitely,
Okay, we have flagellated him in public enough.
no, I didn't mean it that way.
No, I know.
Flagellate, I don't think
Chris,
that's the
I
word
mean,
you
do
meant.
need, can we just vote?
We can certainly vote, and I'm certainly going to vote to support it. You mentioned something, Mayor, that I think is an important comment, that there's maybe a sense of needing to split it out a little bit. And the split out that I would envision, and I don't know, maybe we can incorporate it into the RFQ, is that you kind of need two sets of expertises, and they don't tend to cohabitate. One is planning, people who know the ecology, know planting in South, or know planning with two N's in South Florida. That's a very different set of people than the people that more Ginny was referring to, which is you need kind of a general contractor who gets the irrigation going, buys the plants from different people. Those two sets of expertise are quite different, and they're likely to be in two different entities. That's the only thought. So as long as we can deal with that in this process, let's go ahead and approve it.
Thank you.
But just keep
Mr.
that in mind.
Diaz, did you want to say something?
I'll keep it
Quickly?
brief because I was probably the only one up here who has actually participated in habitat restoration projects. I definitely
Excuse
appreciate.
you, I've done 4 scrubs.
Well,
Scrub areas.
there's a difference between.
All right, we're not a competition.
Okay, it's
Let's
not a
just
competition, but.
Say what you want to say.
It's different, planting is different from design, and I appreciate the RFQ because I've been there and working with volunteers to acquire and plant things, it's a lot to ask. So I saw this and I don't know, it made sense to me. I appreciate it because I know what it takes to, Jane might have sable palms and kuntis and whatever, and then somebody else is gonna have, a whole other set of plants, and it's such a pain to coordinate sometimes and to acquire those for these projects. So having a one-stop go-to person is gonna make this so much faster to your concern.
Which is why we discussed it really a lot when we first were going to hire just that one group. So, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Boy, it took us a long time to get there. Thank you very much. Okay, up next is Resolution 2024, directing the preparation of preliminary refuse assessment roll for fiscal year 2024. Do I have a motion?
Motion approved. Second.
Mr. Mavoy seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
D, Resolution 23-2024, directing the preparation of the preliminary stormwater assessment roll for the fiscal year 24-25.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
By Diaz. All in favor?
Aye.
Come on, kid. What's
Motion to
next?
approve.
No.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a?
listening.
She's just messing.
I pay attention. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night.
I'm sorry, I have no idea who made the motion the second on that.
Maya Maliga.
Maliga made the motion. May seconded it.
Okay, thank you. Good